Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Gravity Max live stream with our new intro for the first time. And welcome to episode 6. I'm here with my co host, Sebastian,
Hello, everyone.
and this week's guest, Michael.
Hello.
So, how's everyone doing tonight?
Fantastic.
I'm doing superb, Max. Today, we have a great topic for you folks at home. I'm excited to have Michael on the stream as he's done a lot of theoretical research into this topic, which we'll get to momentarily.
Cool. So, before we get to that, I just want to mention that this stream has been pre-recorded due to a scheduling conflict. So, to those of you in the chat, you're preaching to the choir. So, Michael, tell us about your Twitch streaming channel, Jam Has Bing.
Well, Max, I typically stream different games such as Overwatch or Minecraft. I also frequently look at chat to collaborate with the 2 bot viewers I get. I would love to have more people come and join me who aren't bots and join the fun.
It's a good channel. It's not scientific, but it's entertaining nonetheless. Let's hop right into the plugs.
Cool. Oh, and just to add quickly, Michael, you mentioned the chat, and you have been very active in
bots. I mean, they are actual robots.
Uh-huh.
Do not get.
But so you mentioned the chat. You have been very active in this live streams chat. Actually,
Indeed.
you are.
Yes, I have.
You are Jam.
He was the first loyal graviton.
He's the most
Yes,
loyal
I am
graviton.
McCarthy.
So thank you for coming on the stream, and making your comments auditory. I guess that's
You're
yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's
That's
get into
fine.
the plugs.
Yeah.
So
Let's do it.
first, visit the Gravity Max website. The Gravity Max website has my a timer for the release of my book, which we'll get to in a second, and it has a sample text, like a sneak peek for the book. So you might want to go check that out at the Gravity Max website, link in the description. And you should also follow Gravity Max on social media to get updates about these live streams and who our guests will be, and just anything Gravity Max related. So, yeah. Also, you should follow Sebastian on social media at Karl Marxman, and I'm gonna put the link in the description. So, yeah, that's that. And then we have the book, and this is.
I am so
Yeah.
ready for this book.
I am
don't
going to be the first to
understand.
purchase this book on Amazon.
Incorrect.
There's gonna be a bidding
Incorrect.
war for
That
the
is
first.
not incorrect.
I am already set up. I have
pre-ordered this book
100
1 year
nanobots
before it was
ready
out.
to just auto-click this book. I'm going to buy 20
I have
copies.
a
I'm gonna read every single one of them.
Reaction.
This is going to be a great book, everyone. Available
Yes,
Thanksgiving.
I highly recommend it to everyone.
Yeah. So yeah, we're a little under 3 weeks away now from the release of this book. We've decided on Thanksgiving. So yeah, you should definitely go check it out. It is on my website, as I said, with a sample text, and we'll have it on Amazon very soon on Thanksgiving. So it's a sci-fi book, takes place in the 22nd century. It's pretty interesting, and it's going to become a trilogy. So if you enjoy science fiction or you have a relative that does, then you should buy it as a gift. Yeah, just support a first-time author and a YouTuber that you like. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, now we have today's topic. Life extension technologies.
So you guys have probably entertained the theory of how long can I live?
Mm-hmm.
How can I be immortal?
Mm-hmm.
All these questions are going to be answered today with these
Yes.
life extension technologies.
Yes.
Death is usually meant to be avoided,
Mhm.
and with these technologies, that's what we're going to do here today.
Yep. Yeah, so death is, what is it? Death and taxes are considered the only
Yeah.
inevitable things in life. You may have, like every 8-year-old, began to wonder, what is a death? And started questioning that. But it might not be as constant as we all think. If we think of modern medicine and just the invention of simple things like penicillin, we see that humans have actually been evading death throughout all of history. This is like what a lot of our science has been working towards. That and
So maybe we have
increasing
to cut
quality of
that
life.
list down to just taxes being
Yeah.
unavoidable.
You
And
cut
the
it down to
McDonald's
just taxes.
ice cream machine breaking
Maybe we,
as
yeah.
well.
Maybe eventually we can eliminate taxes. But yeah,
Tax evasion technologies.
tax evasion technologies.
It's gonna be our next stream.
Yeah, no, but there are actually economic systems that could be possible in the future where, kind of like in Star Trek, I think that's our most referenced piece of media in this stream.
It's gotta be.
In this channel. So it's just where everything is so abundant that money just isn't really like useful at all. But that's a topic for another time. So yeah, so let's get into this. So we start with the 7 theories of aging. These are 7 scientific theories, and all of them have some credibility. All of them are likely partial contributors to why humans age. It is doubtful that any one of these could be the solution. It's likely that they all are. And it's also been a bit of contention this week of whether or not there needs to be an E in aging. So,
I think we settled on it can be spelled either way, but there's definitely one correct way.
Okay. Yeah, Wikipedia said aging without an E or aging with an E, so I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
You can leave that in the comments below.
Right now.
As I said, no chat, so we won't be live responding to you. But you can leave it in the comments below, and we can see what it is later.
Discuss in the comments.
Yeah.
How should aging be spelled?
Yeah, how should aging be spelled?
It's up to you guys.
Yeah. I guess we'll figure it out, and from now on, however everyone spells it, that's how we'll
Vote
use
in the comments. We'll go with whichever one is the majority.
Yep.
Here at Gravity Max, we're a democracy.
We're democratic, yes. Great. So, yes, 7 theories of aging. We each researched 2 or 3 of them, and we are going to go through them now. So, let's begin with the cross-linking theory. So, Michael,
Yes.
I think you researched this one.
I did indeed. The cross-linking theory is the binding of 2 proteins under the presence of oxygen. Okay, once this binding has occurred, the protein becomes impaired and is unable to perform as efficiently as before. Living a longer life is going to lead to the increased possibility of oxygen meeting glucose and protein, also known as cross-linking disorders. You can also see cross-linking in action now if you would like to. An example would be cutting an apple in half and watching the oxygen go and react with the glucose. The glucose in this case would be like the protein. You could watch as the apple turns yellow, brown, and eventually becomes tough.
Wow.
Basically what happens with this cross-linking, the proteins damage your cells, and that's what causes you to not live as long, because damaged cells are not good for the body.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. Proteins, people don't really realize it, and most people just think of protein as like meat or like protein shakes. They just think of it as part of a diet, and they vaguely relate it to muscles. But proteins are they're so important in the body. They have so many different and complicated mechanisms. They help cells communicate with each other, for example. They transmit materials throughout your body. They can be
They
enzymes.
defend you from viruses.
Yeah, they can be enzymes that help chemical reactions occur. They can be used for physical movement in the body. So there's just so many purposes that proteins serve, and it's when they break down, it's a very big problem.
Yeah. So. And that's why this theory does seem to hold some water, because this accumulation of these proteins slows down all the bodily processes that naturally happen because these proteins are in charge of them. So the more bodily processes that are slowed by these, that could contribute to how you age. So I definitely think this is a very plausible theory.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all of these theories, these relate to kind of decay of different mechanisms of the body, because if you think about it, aging really is just like decay and atrophy. It's when your body ages, you just weaken and in all aspects. And so later in the stream, when we get to how to cure these different aging theories, like cures for each of these theories, we'll see how you might be able to reverse that. So yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any additional comments?
Yeah. Our friend from the other stream, he was a guest on our Habitable Planets stream.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob pointed out a very interesting, like, thought to me
Uh-huh.
a couple of weeks ago, and it was that all death is organ failure.
Hmm.
Ultimately, that's
Yep.
always the cause of death.
Yeah, it's very true.
And I think that's just a very interesting thing to think about, because that puts
Yeah.
a lot of things in perspective
Yeah,
about how you're just a bag of
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Like how cause of death can often be listed as just died of old age or died of natural causes. It's like
Yeah.
really old age. No one actually dies of old age. It's really death due to a risk factor that's associated with old age, such as kidney failure, heart disease, cancer. So no one actually dies of old age, but in a weird way, everyone also kind of does, because it's old age causes all of these things, and curing age instead of going for these individual diseases is how humanity might be able to achieve the longest lifespans in the future. Because this is an interesting idea, is that basically, say that you cured cancer, right? And it's just a 100% cure, and now everyone can survive cancer. But we might find that when people reach the age of 125, which no one has reached yet, there's this like even worse disease that is much harder to cure, and then instantly all the scientists of the world have kind of forgotten that previous success and are now working on this 125-year-old disease. Because if you think about it, we would never know that that disease existed, this like mega like horrible disease that pops up around the age of 125, because no one has lived that long yet. And once people do start living that long, we might find those diseases, like it's often, people like to say, people are often confused by the fact that people didn't die of cancer in the past, and they say, oh, it must be like something in the packaging and the way that food's processed now and our lifestyles. And while that is true, you do also need to keep in mind that people weren't dying of cancer in the past because they weren't old enough to get cancer, or the age-related cancers. There are non-age-related cancers, but yeah, so by curing aging instead of curing an individual disease, you are safeguarding against the fact that there might be a worse disease after the one you cured at an older age. So that's kind of what we're going for here. That's why you would want to cure aging instead of curing any disease.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Should we head over to the next?
Oh yeah, sure. So I think you got this one, right?
So yes, I researched this. So the endocrine theory, or the endocrine, you can pronounce it either way.
Mm-hmm.
It basically states that your endocrine system is directly related to how you age. And the image I have up here, what's highlighted is the pituitary gland, which is in the brain. That's basically, you might have heard it described as the control center for hormones. It's very active for like puberty and basically everything involved in like growth and development. But some studies have come out saying that there might be some of the growth hormones that are produced by it might actually be causing you to age faster. Now, there was an experiment done where they took the pituitary gland out of a bunch of mice and put them next to a control group, and they substituted in all the other natural hormones that the mice need to survive, with the exclusion of the growth hormones. And on average, the mice without the pituitary gland actually lived longer than those with it. So I did a deep dive into that specific study. So that study was done in 1965. So
Wow.
I'm not sure if that is like there hasn't been a study like it since, but I still think that even due to its older age, I think the study's findings still hold water.
Yeah.
And I specifically looked at which hormone might be causing this, and the result of the study said that it might be somatotropin, which is just commonly known as a growth hormone.
Okay.
But somatotropin is what was missing from those mice, and those that did not have it lived longer on average.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's basically what this theory revolves around. Is these hormones help you like grow and obviously like develop and mature and all those things, but long term they might be causing you to age faster. They might be like wearing down your body and actually causing decay instead of the growth that they're initially designed to do.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, hormones are really just proteins of the message carrying kind. So these are message carriers, and they carry different messages, and there's like a ton of hormones in the body. And they're related to everything from mood to hunger to it really controls everything. It's kind of the way that your brain communicates with your body and tells your body what to do. And it is very true that somewhere in this like myriad of hormones that we have in our system, there might be one or a couple, like a group of them, that are actually wearing us down. And the difficulty there is that if that hormone, like the growth hormone, is one that we actually need, then you've got a bit of a catch-22. You've got a bit of an issue. Of course, once you are an adult, like, you no longer need the growth hormone, but there are other hormones that we might find are actually responsible for aging, and those are like requisite in the human body. So that would be interesting to study and figure out one day. Yeah. So
indeed.
Yeah, so anything else?
So obviously that study that I looked at was done in 1965. So unless we did the same study today, we can't really tell if that's dated or not.
All right, I'll go down to the local store and get some mice.
Exactly. Just rip out their pituitary gland.
Yeah, exactly.
And supplement all the other hormones.
Simple.
But honestly, I do think that this theory could have some accuracy, only because, and Max and I have discussed this, how there's no evolutionary benefit to living past around the age of, like, say, 50.
Yeah.
Your body might actually be designed to almost like break down, because the natural human lifespan is way lower than what the global average is right now, due to like things such as medicine and other ways we keep ourselves alive. It might actually be that these hormones coming from the pituitary gland aren't actually malfunctioning, but they're actually doing their job of kind of decaying our bodies so that we don't stick around as long.
Yeah, that is definitely true. That gets into some of the later topics, but basically evolution like really is only concerned with the reproduction of genes. That is all that drives evolution. So once someone passes the age that they can have, that they can reproduce, or they pass the age that they could be useful as a guardian to protect those offspring, once they hit an age where their offspring are typically grown themselves and no longer need protection, then evolution is no longer helping you survive, because at that point, there is no more reproduction to be had and no more protection that you can give offspring that can help your genes further. So there really is no imperative on the side of evolution to help you live much past 40 or 50. So yeah, like maybe one of the normal hormones like that we have today, say like insulin, are actually like lethal after 200 years, but we would never find out. This kind of relates to a bit earlier. There are some things that may only come into play at old ages that no human has lived to yet. So it's just like an interesting
Yeah.
possibility. And it's kind of like a little scary that you might think, what's on the horizon, you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. So, should I go to the next slide?
Let's head on to the next one.
All right. So, here we've got the free radicals theory. So, I researched this theory, and this theory it kind of relates to our periodic table video and actually the habitable planets video too, where we talked about how oxygen it's not your friend in high doses. Oxygen is only good at your nice standard 20% atmosphere. But oxygen is the second most electronegative element, which if you don't know what that means, it means an electronegative element is an element that likes to take electrons from other compounds. Fluorine is the most electronegative and oxygen is the second most. So oxygen is a thief of electrons. And this can wreak havoc on organic chemistry. If you think of the proteins and all of these complex molecules, just taking away an electron can lead to serious disarray. And so what we see here is a molecule of superoxide, which is pretty much two oxygen molecules bonded together, but instead of being bonded by a double bond, they are bonded by a single bond, and they have a charge of -1, but there is still one space left open with an unpaired electron, and that space really wants to get filled. So here we have a superoxide ion ripping a electron from a hydrogen atom and turning it into a positive hydrogen ion. So yeah, basically, free radicals theory states that the mitochondria in your body are actually slowly over time producing these superoxides and other reactive oxygen species, and it is slowly killing you. And they're just malfunctioning, but it can just be waste products or like exhaust. Like if you think of an engine, and how the mitochondria is, say, the powerhouse of a cell, right? That's the often quoted
Of
fact.
course.
Yeah, mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right? So if you think of a powerhouse or a power plant, right? Power plants produce, say, carbon dioxide and pollute the atmosphere. So a similar thing happens in your body where you are basically polluted by these reactive oxygen species, and they just damage your cells, your DNA, all of the molecules, and it is basically a theory of aging that the accumulation of all of these oxygen ions and other ions that are reactive will slowly kill you, and it's a theory of aging. So, yeah.
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 Alrighty.
Cool. Okay.
Should we head over to the next one?
Yeah, sure.
I think we shall.
All right.
Alright, so this is the second one I researched, the immunological theory.
Mm-hmm.
This relates to your immune system.
Mm-hmm.
It's if you think about it, it's a rather simple theory. It's as you age, your immune system becomes weaker, which makes sense considering your cells decay, as we were just talking about.
Uh-huh.
The theory is in relation to aging is that as you get older, your immune system slows down, which prevents you from going beyond the age of, say, as a base, maybe 90. Let's say that. It differs between people.
Yeah.
But a lot of diseases are caused by a weak immune system.
Okay.
Especially among seniors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
That's the main gist of it. Actually, okay. Yeah, that's the whole gist of it. Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I like this little image
yeah.
we got up here.
Oh yeah, this is a
Of
very nice image.
Be
just
gone, virus.
halt.
Yeah, so this really gives me some Neo in the Matrix vibes when he stops
Yeah.
all those bullets. It's like, I don't know, I think whoever the visual artist for this rendering was, I think they had that in mind when they were making this
Oh yeah,
I think
it
it needs
definitely
to
looks
be-
like it. I'm pretty sure
It
it's the
needs,
same motion.
yeah, it needs to be the new meme format. I'm telling you.
Yeah, this needs to be the new meme format. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like it has potential. But yeah, definitely. Your immune system is very important.
I could make some show them off on the next stream.
Oh, okay. You'll make some. Nice. Okay. So,
Yeah.
yeah, the immune system is very important. And the immunological theory is basically saying your body ages with your immune system. So, your immune system is just that important in the upkeep of your body that as it ages, your whole body ages. So, this might kind of be a little bit of a critical weakness of the body. So, it's interesting. This is another factor you have to consider when talking about aging and diseases and stuff. And it's that if you have like all of your vital organs, all of your non-vital organs too, can be healthy for say 1,000 years, but one of them, just one of them, has a disease that'll make it shut down in 50 years, then you are going to have you're going to have a shorter lifespan. And even though you have pretty much these miracle organs that could live forever, with this one vital organ that's a problem, you would die, presumably of an early death, and people would be like, wow, he was unlucky, like had a bad disease. So it's really, you need to like stop aging like altogether. You can't just fix one key factor. You need to holistically cancel out every
Yeah.
problem, which is very difficult, but it's something that researchers will have to do in the future, and researchers are actually looking at now, but at a very rudimentary level. So, yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah, there's some more proof that this does slow down, the aging process, or just slows down all the systems. Seniors,
Mhm.
when, as I was mentioned before, your immune system weakens when you get older.
Yeah.
You become susceptible to common infections like the cold, and that could, possibly kill you. I mean, I assume not due to it being the cold, but
Yeah.
the flu you can get much easier.
Yeah. Well,
And
actually,
other
it is
diseases.
true that seniors and children are very susceptible to the flu, and during flu season, it can be dangerous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's also related to chronic inflammatory diseases such as gout and some type of arthritis. So that's also something to note with the immune system.
Yeah, arthritis
All
is
right, and-
not good. Yeah. So that's really
yeah.
interesting with all of these different theories. So, do we have any more comments or?
I don't.
Nope.
No,
I'm
neither.
gonna make some fresh memes
Oh,
out of
okay.
this image, and
Okay.
I'll show them off on the next Gravity Max live stream.
All
right.
Live, 7 p.m. EST.
We've got some jokes here at the Gravity Max live stream.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the next slide. Oh shoot!
Okay, I also researched the program excuse me.
Longevity. Yeah.
Longevity.
Longevity.
I know I can't say it. I don't know why. Basically, this is the theory of programming your DNA to live longer, essentially.
Okay.
So, if we're going on the topic of, your cells purposely trying to decay, you could possibly program your DNA to prevent the cells from ever trying to decay. Trying to, and increase your lifespan. That's what the series is all about. And that's really, I basically just summed it up in one sentence.
Yeah. So this theory is saying that aging is just genes switching on and off, and programming your genes to switch in a way beneficial to your lifespan is really the basis of this, and that's basically what Michael said. It's just with DNA sequencing, and I believe we're going to talk about that technology. Yeah, we are.
Yeah,
we're going to talk about gene editing technology later on in the stream.
Yeah.
It's actually becoming a reality around us today. If you were to present this theory to someone like 40 years ago, talking about programming someone's DNA to make you live longer, they would have like laughed in your face, then like kicked your dog or whatever they did back then. But now it's actually more possible. I don't know what life was like.
Let's see.
40 years ago.
1979.
Yeah, 1979 was a wild time.
Let's see. We've got Jimmy Carter.
1979.
We've got so Jimmy Carter. We've got, I don't know, the end of the 70s.
Shop in 1979 Amazon.
Jimmy Carter.
That's all I know about the year 1979. 10 years
Amazon.
after the moon landing.
I'm getting a lot of Amazon.
The Smashing Pumpkins made
I just saw that. The Camaro, the 1979 Camaro.
Of course.
Okay.
1979 Revolution.
So let's see. So if you presented this to a scientist in 1979, they would have laughed in your face, then showed you a news story about Jimmy Carter, and then got in your 1979 Camaro and drove away. I think that's while listening to the Smash Pumpkins.
They would have showed you a newspaper clipping saying that John Wayne died in 1979.
Oh, here's something that happened in 1979.
Oh, and so did Joseph Mengele.
Oh,
on April 11th of 1979, the Tanzanian army captures Kampala, the capital of Uganda, forcing Uganda dictator. That is such.
I know a lot about Tanzania. Actually, Max and I both did a project back in middle school.
7th grade, right?
A utopian society, and my society was actually stationed in Tanzania.
Yeah, mine was...
Here's another interesting fact. May 4th, Margaret Thatcher becomes the first woman to be elected Prime Minister of the UK.
Wow.
Ooh.
That's an interesting fact.
So 1979 facts. Yeah, my Utopia project, in case you were wondering, was in space. Me and my friend who...
Of course.
Yeah, we're actually going to have him on the stream next week. We made this project together, which was a cylindrical habitat in space that spanned for centrifugal force. We should have a future episode on that. But anyway, so program longevity.
I have another interesting fact.
Oh yeah, one more 1979 fact.
On November 5th, the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Khomeini, describes the United States as the Great Satan.
The Great Satan.
Accusations of imperialism.
Wow.
Thank you. That is all we have.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, so
all we have for 1979 today.
So programmed longevity, it relates to the discussion of evolution we were having earlier, and how basically evolution is really related to your genes. When Darwin first proposed evolution, he wasn't thinking about genetics because genes didn't occur yet. There was just some perceived notion that traits were programmed into your body, but they didn't really know how.
People before genes were invented.
Yeah, before genes were invented, everyone was just walking around a gray blob. Yeah, so, anyways, if you can edit your genes...
Sorry, that was my desk.
Oh, okay.
My desk drawer.
If you can edit your genes to live longer, that is a possibility in the future. And it might be one of our theories of aging. We might find out that it's really just our DNA that has some fatal flaw in it that makes us die younger. And so the possibilities here is that either it is a trait that is beneficial for you for, say, 50 years of life and then becomes non-beneficial after that. But as we said with evolution, if it's beneficial for that 50 years, that's all evolution cares about. Also, it might be something that is, I don't know, say neutral for most of your life and negative after 50 years. Or it could be good after 50 years, like neutral after that. It's like, it's interesting. Genetics, it's so complicated.
It's complicated.
There's a lot of different factors that like turn on and off. So it's complicated, but thankfully we have genetic scientists that are currently working on the genome, and we've already mapped the human genome, but we have no idea what it means yet. We have identified certain traits with certain genes, which is very interesting. If you've ever gotten a DNA test from, say, 23andMe or Ancestry.com, you'll find that they have been able to link some traits to some genes, but they are nowhere near deciphering all these A, T's, C's, and G's that make up our genetic code. It's a very difficult process. There's, what, a billion base pairs? Something like that. So it'll be something to figure out. And once we figure it out, once we crack the code and figure out how it all relates to each other, then we might be able to edit our genes and lengthen our life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll go to the next slide.
I want to put in real quick.
Yeah. What do you want?
Excuse me.
Okay. I think he was muting his mic because his dog was barking.
Oh, okay. Cool. We'll go to the next slide. This is the rate of living.
Yeah, I took this slide. I researched this, and honestly, this image all looks like it could be a meme.
Second
as Max
meme of the
pointed
night.
out earlier, it looks like the Flash.
Yep, I said that. It looks like Barry Allen in the intro of the DC's like Flash show, where the camera angle they use for him running is always something like that.
Yeah.
So, do you just pick meme images when you make these slides? Meme worthy?
All I see is just meme potential everywhere.
That's great. We always love that meme potential.
We could do a stream, like the social science behind them.
Oh, the social science behind memes? Yes, that is true. We could do a stream on memes. I think our previous guest on the Habitable Planets episode, Jacob, I think he might like that.
Oh yeah, he would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got some fun videos. Yeah, back to rate of living.
Back to the rate of living theory. This one's a simple, folks. Basically, it's just saying that the faster an organism's metabolism is, the shorter its lifespan is.
Yeah.
So, this theory was actually originally created in 1908 after this guy named Max Rubner made the observation that larger animals on average outlived smaller ones, and the larger ones obviously had slower metabolisms. So there were other studies done, and this led to another Max. Lots of Maxes in science.
Yep. Max Planck.
Max Planck. That's this guy, Max Rubner. And next up, we have Max Kleiber, who introduced Kleiber's law, which is a graph of a metabolic rate. And basically, it's saying that Kleiber's law states that metabolic rates scale to the 3/4 power instead of increasing at a 1-to-1 ratio.
With like mass, body mass, or?
Yeah, it's basically means that like a cat, which is around 100 times larger than a mouse, give or take, does not use 100 times the energy that a mouse. Instead, it requires 100 to the power of 3/4 times the energy of a mouse.
Okay, so that's about 31 times.
Yeah, about 31.6 times the mouse requirement. That is quick math.
Thank you. I know my square root of 10.
Very quick math.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, this is a simple one, but we were talking about this before we logged on to the stream. There is also the postulate that each organism only gets about 1 billion heartbeats. Every mammal, that is.
Yeah, every mammal. Because it varies, I think, right? Does Kleiber's law?
Yeah, Kleiber's law.
Kleiber's law. I think, I don't know, does it state like that between different classes or orders of species that it might be a little different?
Yeah, that was definitely possible. Kleiber's law came out in the 1930s. So
yeah,
I think the scale still holds up, but there could definitely be more variation. He originally drew it as just line, kind of like
Okay.
line of best fit
So
type
like for
thing
every
around
animal?
the 3/4 power.
Okay. Yeah,
But
because there are, for example, say tortoises that are like 190 years old, and like sharks that are like have been swimming around since
yeah,
1692. Just crazy things
yeah,
like that.
honestly.
Yeah.
And obviously the only exception to the 1 billion heartbeat rule is humans
Hmm.
because of medicine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Also, like dogs, we keep alive longer
Yep.
than they're supposed to live.
Yeah. It's really
And
interesting. The one heartbeat rule
yeah,
gives humans like 33 years of life, which, if we look back at like prehistoric times, that is approximately what the average lifespan was. It decreased momentarily as we formed societies just because of like living in close proximity allowed diseases to pop up, and then as society developed it went back up again. But in prehistoric times people lived to about 33.
yeah.
So the one heartbeat rule, or 1 billion heartbeat rule,
The 1 heartbeat rule.
everyone gets 4
That'd be a
seconds.
sad world.
Yeah. So the 1 billion heartbeats rule is pretty indicative of how mammals live. If you
Yeah.
think of, what is it? The smallest mammal is like the pygmy shrew or something, and it's like,
It is indeed.
yeah, it's like the size of your fingertip. It's this like tiny little mouse-looking thing, and then the biggest mammal is the blue whale. And so if you use that, like if you use that like power of 3/4 with Kleiber's rule to calculate their metabolisms and then find the different rates, you'll see that with the amount of heartbeats that the whale has compared to the amount of heartbeats that the shrew has, it'll be the same number of heartbeats but over a different amount of time. Which, yeah, it's interesting.
So
It's, if you think of the phrase, his heart was beating like a rabbit, like smaller mammals would have incredibly fast heartbeats. So yeah.
So the pygmy shrew lives for 2 years naturally, whereas a blue whale lives for 80 to 90 years in the wild.
Wow. So big
And
discrepancy, but still same
yeah,
number of
big
heartbeats.
discrepancy. The mass of the shrew is anywhere from 0.046 to 0.088 ounces.
Wow.
And that's for a large adult, and they're about 1 to 2 inches long, not including the tail. And obviously, a blue whale's mass is anywhere from 100,000 to 300,000 pounds.
Wow. Yeah.
And they're around 82 feet long.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
This is a pretty good theory. It basically kind of describes organisms as like an engine, and these engines are running at different rates, but they all have the same amount of output possible. So
I like the comparison to engines.
Oh yeah.
And that leads us
to our next slide.
Theory.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
where we can
I researched this one. This is the wear and tear theory of aging, and car metaphors are very useful for this theory. So obviously, here we have a worn out tire that looks horrible. I don't know how someone even let it get to that point. And then we've got a stock photo of, my interpretation of this photo is that someone wore themselves down to like dust, and like their shoes are left like in a cartoony fashion. That's my interpretation here. So yeah, so basically what this theory states is that, much like a car, your body just slowly breaks down over time. Say your tire wears out, or your engine breaks down, or your battery breaks down. It's similar to how like your different organs break down, like your heart, your liver, your kidneys, and how like your immune system with the immunological theory. So yes, this wear and tear theory is basically just saying that it's just damage over time that we cannot fix. So it's pretty simple. It's like one of the most widely known, like, super simple theories of aging, you know?
Yeah.
So obviously, as we'll get to in the cure slide, the cure to the wear and tear theory would be something along the lines of fixing that damage, fixing that wear and tear. So if you think of a car again, if you were to take it to the auto shop and fix it up, then you would have fixed that old car and gotten rid of the wear and tear. And we might be able to do something similar with the human body, but we'll get into the specifics a bit later. So yeah, anything else on this theory?
I don't think so.
Pretty standard theory.
Yeah.
Definitely like the car comparison.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, all I'm a fan of is the stock photo.
Yeah, I know. I don't know how I bet they just put like 2 blocks of dry ice in these like dress shoes.
Honestly.
And then just took a picture. Or they put, I don't know,
Boom.
some
Stuck.
like vaporizing device. Don't want to get demonetized.
I want to acknowledge how this tire got like this. I believe someone took a sword
Yeah,
Yeah, I
wrapped
know.
it around the tire.
Yeah.
Just wrapped it around the tire. Or he went
Honestly.
over
No, I like this. I like this because this tire has been neglected.
Yeah.
And this shows you that if you neglect your body, if you don't take care of it, you're going to end up like this tire.
Yeah, exactly.
Disgusting.
cut in half.
Honestly, you
Cut
could
in
put this
half.
under a caption of like
Going to
like
be
when you
replaced
piss someone
with a
off
better
so much
version.
and like your car gets keyed,
what
like
you
when they
children
key your car. You know when people do that? How they'll like take a key and just like run down the length of your car.
Yeah.
And, like
Yeah.
someone had a huge key and just destroyed this tire because they were
Wolverine
really
just went at the
angry.
tire.
Yeah.
You can think about it. That's how most things are. Let's take a mouse for like not a living mouse, a computer mouse. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
The more you use it, the worse it's gonna get.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
What's similar to that? Maybe the human body. I don't know.
Yeah.
But same goes for a tissue. You use it once and it's gone.
Mhm.
A lava lamp, the light goes out. A keyboard.
Are you just
hit it
looking
too
around
hard.
your room? Right?
Yeah, I'm just looking around right now.
Wow. So, yeah, definitely. If you think about it, it's just entropy, right? It's just the universe. Entropy must always go up in the universe. It can never go down, and that's just disorder. So, everything that you do increases disorder. So, even if you clean your room, for example, that will increase the disorder in the universe because you have expelled the energy from your food in the form of movements, which becomes friction and heat in the air, which is distributed more equally instead of concentrated in your food. So entropy is always on the rise, and it might just be that it isn't a biological law that is killing our bodies, but a physical law that is wearing us down, that is causing this entropy. So, yeah. So those were the 7 theories of aging. Now, we are going to go to the cures to aging, again with the contentious
cures.
spelling. And so each cure listed here pertains to one of the theories of aging. We have titles, so you'll know which one. So let's get to the first one.
Okay.
First,
so
we have the cross-linking theories cure. Yeah.
Yeah, some cures for this. Enzymes. Yes, they are proteins, but enzymes can be programmed or used to destroy these bad protein cells. These, I don't know how to say this, horrible, terrible proteins.
Alexander and the
spawn-stinging
horrible,
protein.
no good, very bad protein.
Yes. I can't say any better than that. It's just these bad proteins will be destroyed by good protein. Understand? It's a civil war between protein.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, it's a revolution, and the enzymes are the soldiers of the kingdom, and proteins are the bad.
So
proteins.
yeah, possibly introducing, pretty much just switching out enzymes to replace the older, now like cross-linked ones. Might just be an easy way. Like I'm saying, easy relatively.
Yeah.
But might be an easy fix to this issue if this does indeed pertain to aging.
Yeah.
I don't know how transplanting enzymes works.
Hmm.
But I feel like if we could master that science, then we could definitely figure out if the cross-linking theory holds any water or not,
Yeah.
to find out if it
Yeah.
actually does pertain to aging.
Yeah, well, here's a little info
true.
on that. So, as we said, we have gene editing nowadays, right? So, and every protein, so therefore every enzyme, can have a DNA code associated with it. So, if you could just code a simple bacteria, say like a simple cyanobacteria, just like pond scum pretty much, if you could just program it to produce this protein in like mass quantities when fed just basic like amino acids, then you could harvest that. We actually do this with like insulin and just normal enzymes that or normal proteins and enzymes that people just need in their bodies and might have a deficiency of, but we might be able to like custom build our own enzymes that specifically target these bad proteins and that don't exist in nature. And this actually kind of blurs the line between an enzyme and like just a molecule and an actual nanomachine, which we'll get into later. But the smallest kind of conception of a nanomachine would be a highly like specific built enzyme that does exactly what you want it to do. So this is very interesting. Yeah, they used to have to harvest enzymes from like the livers of pigs and like farm animals. They needed to find in like the glands of their bodies. They could find enzymes that were identical or at least pretty similar to the ones that we had in our bodies, and they had to harvest it. But now we can do it a lot easier and a lot less gruesome with just some simple coded bacteria.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Any comments?
I think we got it all.
Nice.
Yes.
All right, next slide.
Some of these cues are pretty simple. Not gonna
Yeah. So,
All right, let's head over to the next one. So right here, I have and yes, it's pronounced GIF
yep.
of the different ways that different hormones can affect the body. Right here, you can see that they can produce happiness. When serotonin is high, they can produce anxiety. When you're deprived of some, even depression. And like when you're like in love, like all of them are high. This is just kind of a quick little diagram to show you how different hormones can affect differently, how they can make you feel different moods and even trigger different processes in your body. Like we said earlier, like feeling hungry or feeling like thirsty or getting any other impulse is easily tied to the pituitary gland and hormones. So what the cure to this is, going back to just do a quick summary of what I said earlier, there was that possible theory that the growth hormones are actually making you age faster after a certain point. The solution there would obviously, there's two possible options. One would be decreasing the amount of growth hormones in a human after a certain age where they do not need to like grow anymore.
Yep.
Or two, implanting different hormones that kind of cancel out those growth hormones and the hormones that are directly tied to actually living longer.
Yeah.
Implanting those and making a human's body produce more of those on average would be the fix to this. Obviously, that is hard to do. That goes into a lot of neuroscience because the pituitary gland is in the brain. And all of these dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, they're all transmitted by neurotransmitters in the brain. And basically, they carry these signals to the brain, and then they go down the brainstem and then out to the entire body. So if we could perfect neuroscience to a degree where we can either take out the growth hormones at a certain age or plant beneficial hormones into the brain, like pretty much any time in a person's life, that could be a theory if aging is indeed tied to the endocrine system and the hormones that are produced by it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, this could even affect, say, gene editing because
Yeah.
hormones are just another type of protein. So if we could code into our DNA the DNA sequence associated with a hormone that we might want to increase, then we could put that in, and you wouldn't have to get, say, like hormone injections or like pills all the time because even if you have a cure to aging, if it's too cumbersome, then it's just like, I mean, a lot of people would still take it, but if you have a cure
Yeah.
to aging, but it's extremely cumbersome, then it's like not very good because you also need to consider quality of life, and that why would you want to live a lot longer if it's just like miserable and like constantly like in and out of just clinics just to get your immortality shots or like pills or something, you know?
Mm.
Um, yeah, so preferably a cure to aging, which we can get into a little later with our like miscellaneous tab, but preferably a cure to aging would be uninvasive, something that
Mhm.
wouldn't bother you too much, you know? So, say maybe a pill that you had to take just like once a night is even like on the high end, in my opinion. But a lot of people do it who suffer from just like any medical condition. But if you could, say, make a once yearly shot, like a flu shot or something, or a pill you would take once a month or once a week, then we get into some really, really good cures to aging that don't make you super reliant on all of these different things, you know?
Mhm.
Because it's also important that it's cheap, you know? Because taking a pill every night, for example, would not be cheap. And a lot of dystopian things can occur when a cure to aging is not cheap and accessible to people, where you get only the rich can live forever while the poor do not. I think that's probably the, what do you call, that's probably the setup for like a dozen novels, right? A dozen
Honestly.
young adult novels, right? Um, so you just got to think about that um, with these theories. You know, it's preferable if you could program something into your DNA instead of having to constantly supplement it. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, should we go to the next slide?
we shall.
Okay. So, this is the free radicals theory, and this is one of the cures to the free radicals theory. So, you might recognize this molecule, although likely not, because who would memorize molecules? I didn't even recognize. I don't even. I mean, I know what it is because I have it in my mind, but like I did not recognize this. So I would be very surprised if someone recognized this molecule. So, but of course we're not live, so we couldn't really figure out in the chat. This is vitamin C. So this is the molecule for vitamin C. And the reason I put it on here is because it is known as an antioxidant, which, as you might recall earlier, the problem with the free radicals theory was oxidation of the cells, or not of the cells, of the molecules in your body. So oxidation is when something loses electrons, as in oxygen, one of the free oxygen species, steals an electron and oxidizes that substance, and the oxygen itself becomes reduced because it gains electrons. So
Mhm.
there are also molecules that will reduce molecules in your body and oxidate themselves and kind of counteract what the oxygen, like free oxygen species have done. I mean, hence the
Mhm.
name um, antioxidant, you know? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
we already know that these are related to your health. Like, if you don't have enough vitamin C, you'll get scurvy, like a pirate.
Scurvy.
Yeah, and what is it? Isn't it vitamin D? I think relates to rickets. Was it like
I can
I'm not
if
I
you
can
don't have
fact
enough?
check that.
I'm not sure. Um,
Vitamin D and rickets. Yes.
Okay.
It
Yeah.
is.
So vitamin D and rickets. Then vitamin B. There's a ton of different types of B, but I think if you don't have enough, you get like anemia in your blood because you can't hold on to iron as well. Vitamin A, of course, has the British World War II military myth that it benefits your eyesight, which is a myth that they started because they had like sonar, they had like these new technologies for seeing things, and so they put out this vitamin A propaganda that said vitamin A is actually making our vision so good that we can see your planes coming from miles away. Yeah, so that's where that myth started. So, yeah, that's a cure to the free radicals theory. It's just a ton of antioxidants. We might be able to develop new antioxidants, like artificial ones, that are like super good at just going into your body and disrupting the goal of the free oxygen species. So yeah, that's a possible cure to aging.
Yeah.
Cool.
Should we head on to the next one?
Sure.
The next one. I think my favorite one in all of the series. We have this depiction of antibodies fighting off the terrible viruses.
Nice.
Not unlike the previous meme slide.
Yes.
On the introduction to this theory.
Yeah.
This is just hardcore.
But yeah, this is just hard, like just destroying the viruses. The other one is like, stop right there, viruses. You're violating the law. This one is just, there's no mercy for you, virus.
Yeah, we don't tolerate viruses around here. Or, okay, this is a controversial statement, but I think that the plural of virus should be viri and not viruses. I am a fan of the...
That's fair.
I'm a fan of the U.S., like the us ending becoming an I, like in platypus to platypi or cactus to cacti or octopus to octopi. I don't know why English just kind of only uses that on like 3 us words, but I think we should like non-discriminately just apply it to all words
viruses
in English. So.
Kind of sounds better to pronounce
viruses,
than
but
viri.
think of viri.
No, viri is where it's at.
Viri is like viruses is clunky. Viruses is
like,
clunky.
There's so many viri.
Yeah.
In his
viri.
body, like it's different. It's so much weirder than saying like there's so many viruses in his body.
No, okay. Well,
I guess in different.
We can debate this later.
Okay, different contexts.
Maybe even on the 23rd.
Oh, on the 23rd.
Different
True. We're gonna have I think this will be the first time we're announcing it, that we have on the 23rd, we are going to have a stream where all of our previous guests, as well as one guest that will not have had a chance to be on the show yet, will all be on the show. So that'll be fun. We'll have a big stream,
Yeah.
So anyways,
all right.
What are these antibodies and
theory.
Like how can we add them to the body?
I did not hear what you said.
So I said, so what are these antibodies and how can we add them to the body?
Antibodies are already in you.
Yep.
They're the white blood cell.
Yes.
It's what your immune system produces.
Yep.
To prevent you from getting infected. But,
so are there like mega antibodies or?
I have no idea. But as I said when I was talking about this topic, your immune system gets weak. So the best thing to do, to try and, I guess, prolong the inevitable effects. The self-care is the best thing to do. So like eating healthy, proper exercise, that is the best thing to keep your immune system, functioning the best it can for as long as you can. And I'm not sure about this, but you may be able to get antibodies put in, like white blood cells.
Yeah.
To help defend. Like, so let's say your immune system is weak and your white blood cells suck. We can put in Rambo here and he'll just go in. That's technically what most medicine is, I guess, to help with the white blood cells.
Speaking of Rambo, I looked up what the strongest antibodies are, and the strongest, most common ones are the immunoglobulins. Sorry about that pronunciation.
Immunoglobulins.
Yeah, the immunoglobulins. That's how you would pronounce it. So there's like
Okay.
5 different types, and they each target different kinds of like viruses and are very powerful antibodies in their own way.
That's cool.
So that's mostly what Michael is talking about, like getting antibodies like artificially introduced into your body.
Yeah.
Technically, that's already a thing. I'm going to use an example here. You guys,
these
remember
proteins do
Osmosis
already
Jones?
Yes, I
Osmosis
have
Jones.
seen
I do.
Osmosis
I do that.
Jones.
Do you remember his partner, the pill guy?
The pill, yes.
The pill guy. I
That
remember
was
the pill.
technically inserting a virus defense.
Yes, that's true.
So
That's cool.
we're actually already on that path if you really think about it.
Yeah.
But to combat the bigger viruses, let's say, let's take Ebola for example. I mean, we already did that, but let's pretend we're in like 2005 and we haven't done it. Or whenever, I don't know. I forget. I think 2016. But let's say we figure out we're like there, and then that's when we have to figure it out. That's like I forgot where I was going with.
Yeah. Well, I just got to say about Osmosis Jones, I love that the plot of that movie is basically Bill Murray eats a deviled egg off the ground and contracts anthrax. I think that's just a perfect one-sentence movie description for...
Do you want to hit present and then present again?
Sure, I will hit present and then present again. So, yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah, so we've got our pill character. So
what
yeah.
face is that? Oh my god.
Yeah.
No, I just searched up Osmosis Jones pill guy. His name is Drix.
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 It's supposed to be RX, you know, like the prescription logo.
Oh,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like D, like RX, something like that.
There's a scary picture of the devil guy from Osmosis Jones, and he's like looking his lip.
Anthrax? Yeah. He calls himself Thrax for short. It's really interesting. So, yeah, another interesting possibility is that you could say stimulate someone's stem cells to create more immuno cells, like more antibodies if their immune system is weak. You know, you could use the stem cells, which we'll get into later with 3D printed organs, that stem cells are useful. But also, and this is getting into nanomachines, which is also a bit later, but you could have robotic versions of the immune cells and antibodies that could work better. So that's just an interesting possibility. Yeah. And once again, Osmosis Jones is a wonderful movie. So I'm going to go to the next one.
Actually watched it.
It is a disgusting movie.
I watched it a second time.
Yeah, I think, do you remember in 7th grade?
Let's get a sponsor up in here.
Do you remember in 7th grade, I think we all watched it for science class near the end of the year?
Yeah.
Because they I think they ran out of curriculum or something. So they're like, let's have them watch Osmosis Jones and take notes on if it's like credible or not. And yeah, that was the funnest. I mean, not a real word, but that was the most fun. I mean, not the most, but it was very fun. I enjoyed watching Osmosis Jones with my homeroom in science for like the last day of school.
I was watching it with you, Max.
Oh yeah, you were in my homeroom, right?
I think I was.
Yeah.
Was I? Maybe.
I think so.
No, wait, weren't you on the other team, the Dolphins or something? No.
That was 6th grade.
Wait, it's Patriots and Pioneers. Weren't you on the Pioneers?
I was a Patriot. Wait.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wait, you were in one of my classes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, let's head on. To the next.
Oh, I want to quickly mention, since this transitions into the program longevity, you can also program your immune cell. All right. Now let's go over to the program longevity. Okay. Now, since this theory isn't really like a how do I put it? Like I guess it is a fault. But the best cure for this is just learning how to program DNA for better better genes.
And we're going to talk
better
about
functions.
gene editing technology.
Yeah, that's one of our categories.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a quick one, but it kind of says it
Yeah.
in the name, programmed longevity. Like, you got to
Yeah,
program
No,
it.
and if you
there's not
guys
much to it.
notice, that image is a callback
Yeah.
to one of our earliest streams.
Yes.
Where
I think
we use
the
this. And as I
earliest
mentioned on that
stream,
stream, this is one of my backgrounds for my
Yep.
desktop. It's one of my wallpapers.
Mhm.
And I have
Wow.
a GIF. And yes, it's pronounced GIF. And yes, I know I already made that joke this episode. But
You only
it's a
get one
GIF
per
of
episode.
this
Not
DNA
Didn't laugh.
breaking into this golden structure. And that's
Mhm.
kind of a metaphor rendition of what program longevity would be, because you're kind of taking the good or golden genes and turning them
Yeah.
all on.
It makes me think of the scene in Hercules when he gains his immortality.
Ooh,
You know, when
that's a
the-
good metaphor.
When the three
Because
fates
this
are
is
about to
people
cut
on.
his string, but which is like in that movie metaphorical for like being alive, but then the string turns gold because he like becomes a god by like being a good person.
Yeah.
So
So I guess
then-
that's like the 8th theory of living forever.
Yeah,
Just
that's the eighth theory.
become Hercules.
You basically have to sacrifice yourself for someone that you care about by jumping into the river of Styx, and like getting their soul out of the soul river, Greek mythology stuff. Yeah, that's the eighth theory of aging.
Yeah.
That's the eighth cure to aging. So
Let's head over to the next thing.
yeah, okay. So rate of living theory. We've got a person made of fruits and
A
vegetables.
person made of food. So
Bananas.
obviously, if the rate of living theory is suggesting that the faster your metabolism is, the quicker you die, obviously, the fix is to slow down your... And you can do this with dieting, which is
Mhm.
why I have veggie all over here.
Yeah.
Actually, no, there's ham over there.
Oh, and there's an egg
So
and a
I
mushroom.
guess she's not veggie.
So I guess it's just
Also, there's fruits there.
yeah. I guess it's just food person.
Food person.
Yeah.
Right. Slowing down, you can slow down your metabolism, diets, and there's obviously medication to, like, if someone has higher blood pressure, if
Mhm.
their heart is beating like too fast, you can obviously take medication for that. So this again is kind of like an easy logical fix.
Mhm.
If your metabolism is, if the speed of your metabolism is relative to how quickly you die, then you definitely want to slow
Yeah.
that down.
Well, it actually makes me think, for the rate of living theory, of the like blue people in like Kentucky. Have you know that?
Oh, the Fugits?
Yes, the Fugits. Basically,
Yeah, we did
we did that
a
in biology in
we
ninth
did that
grade. We did
yeah,
a
in
whole
biology.
unit on that. That's what I was thinking.
You guys
That's
all-
why I knew of them. But basically, the blue Fugits, I forgot how to pronounce their name though. They have this
Yeah, that's-
disease where there's this thing in your blood called methemoglobin, and I think it is the product of spent hemoglobin, or it is what fixes spent hemoglobin. And basically, whenever hemoglobin is used once, it gets deactivated, and your body needs to reactivate it, and it just quickly does that. So it's not really an issue. But these blue Fugits, they basically have this genetic mutation where their rate of returning the hemoglobin back to its normal state is like 80% as fast, so it's not 100% speed. And because of that, their blood is more deoxygenated, and it makes them look blue instead of, like they're Caucasian, so it makes them look blue instead of like white. So it's actually also been found that their their metabolism is slower because of this, because they aren't uptaking oxygen as fast as someone that does not have that trait does. So because more of their hemoglobin is inactivated, and they have methemoglobinemia, which is just a huge word. So they have methemoglobinemia, and it slows down their metabolism. And I think they found in the Fugits, I don't think it's conclusive because this is a small group of people, but they found that they actually live a little bit longer. They live healthier lives as they get older. So that's a possibility if with gene editing, maybe not specifically that, but like something
Yeah.
similar. You might find that we can slow down people's metabolism without actually like damaging their function, their proper function, and hopefully also without turning them blue because um, no one really wants to be
Yeah.
blue. The Fugits actually like they have to like live in their
Blue.
own like town because they feel like ostracized and
Yeah.
because they're blue, so they're like we don't want people to stare at us. So yeah, so it's
You
interesting.
can become Widowmaker.
Yeah.
That's a reference for Overwatch. Which, by the way, you should watch my
see-
stream.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
see
watch
on
the
Jam
stream and
Twitch
figure it out. I know what Overwatch is, and I knew that was a reference to Overwatch, but I don't really get it. Anyway, so I'm gonna go to the
Widowmaker's
next.
skin is blue.
Oh, okay, cool.
Through research in medical stuff.
Ah,
No one likes the doctor.
huh.
So.
Yes.
Okay.
But that's a story for another day
Okay.
On Jam's Twitch.
on Jam's Twitch channel.
Yeah. All right. So I'll go to the next slide. We've got the wear and tear theory, and we've got a callback from 3 episodes ago. This, you might remember, is the quantum mechanic. He got fired from his job in the quantum realm, and now he is working in the biological realm. So,
Yes.
as we have, you might see that he's in an auto shop, as you can see in the background. And with our car
Before
analogies,
he was also in an just
a
ignore
quantum.
that.
It was a quantum auto shop. Those
Yeah.
cars were representing quantum particles when when we last saw him, but now they're representing bodies, I guess, biological processes. So
And
He's
he's
working on
there,
fixing
he's there
the
to
body.
work on it.
yeah, so this man is I don't know, he's a hypothetical mechanic. And I mean, the look says it all, don't you think?
He's a fancy man.
Anyway, so
He's a man of class.
so you can cure the wear and tear theory by just fixing up the broken parts of your body. So if your liver gets damaged, then you can fix your liver. And I mean, we actually do have sort of like we do have this a little bit today. It's not complete. It's not like we don't have any fix. Like
It's
if your
not good.
pancreas breaks down, you're dead. Like the pancreas it's like a vital organ, but like we don't know how to transplant it yet, which is not good. So like, but if you have kidney failure or if you have liver failure or heart failure, then there are heart transplants, liver transplants, and kidney transplants. So if we can figure out how to transplant like other organs too, then you'll get a more complete cure to the wear and tear theory. And also another possibility for this is instead of transplanting organs, you might want to 3D print organs or even make robotic organs because, as we know, the wait list for getting a donor organ is like it can take years, and sometimes those years it takes too long, and the person dies from not getting a donor, which is a pretty sad state of affairs. So even if we figured out how to transplant these organs, if we could figure out how to transplant like every organ in the body, it still really would not be enough because a lot of these organs are vital organs, and you have to wait until someone dies and is willing to they're like a donor upon death. Like if you sign up for that, I think it's with your driver's license. So, so basically, you want to be able to 3D print organs as well, which we'll get into soon. Because if you can 3D print organs, then instead of like years for wait time, it could take a few weeks just to print that organ and then transplant it into your body. So yeah, so that's the cure to the wear and tear theory. Just figuring out how to do transplants better. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add?
I like his face.
I know, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
This.
He's definitely going to be a reoccurring
Yeah,
character.
he's
as
coming
fired
back.
He's a
from
trustworthy
each job.
mechanic.
He's trustworthy.
Well, apparently not if he keeps getting fired.
That's true.
He gets fired because he's just too handsome.
He's just too good.
He's
too good at his job.
He's too good at his job, and no one else is getting paid.
Uh-huh.
So they have to create new jobs.
I kind of want to know who this guy is, like the actor for this picture.
He could be a guest on.
Oh my gosh.
We can invite him on.
Yeah, dude.
1, 2, 3, R. Yeah, so we'll find this guy.
So yeah, let's head on to the next one.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, the mechanic. Okay. This is our miscellaneous. So this is kind of like we had our organized cure to each theory, but then we just kind of have a ton of other stuff that relates to life extension that we just kind of wanted to throw on to the end in the miscellaneous column. So we've got a nice picture of a missile there. And yeah, so it's miscellaneous. All right. So first we got cryogenics.
Cryogenics.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have anything to say about cryogenics?
I do, actually. I like it a lot.
Mhm.
So basically, what we're thinking here is that it slows down the bodily function. It's what
Mhm.
The main idea of it is, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
And there's been different ways to propose it. As you see in the bottom left, that is the cryo chamber for an Overwatch character known as May.
Ah.
No one likes her, but she's still alive.
Okay.
So
And you can check her
Yeah, you
out
can
on
check that
Jan's
out.
channel.
At Jim
yeah,
has
I'll be
big.
playing her like occasionally when I get mad. So
Nice. So, yeah, cryogenics is pretty interesting. It's a thing that actually exists today, but we don't have the complete process. Currently, you can pay companies like a few $100,000 and they'll freeze your body, or a few $1,000 and they'll just freeze your head. And it's basically you're hoping that they'll keep you frozen for like 100 years, and in 100 years from now or something, they'll figure out how to cure being frozen and also
well,
the
that's-
disease that you were suffering from.
there's a lot more to it, and that's not like as stupid if you really try that right now. We're not that
Yeah.
far into it.
You might know the conspiracy theory that Walt Disney
Oh,
is
yeah.
actually frozen.
Uh-huh.
That's actually false.
Mhm.
Or
He's
at least
dead.
Hence
Walt Disney's
conspiracy
daughter
theory.
has said that that's false.
Well, how is she a reliable source?
Why would they tell her?
No, I'm just kidding. But
Well, at the time, Walt Disney, I think he died in the 70s.
mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
he died in the 70s. So he died in 19. Cryogenics obviously not up to par with how they are now in
Mhm.
1966, and even with how they are now, it still might not be good enough to
Yeah.
actually sustain human life for like 100 years.
Mhm.
It's still a largely developing science.
Yeah.
And Max, you want to talk about the forbidden drink?
Oh
Down
yes.
in the right.
The forbidden drink. Doesn't it just look so refreshing? Like,
It does.
I
would
mean,
love to go and take a swig
I
of
know
that.
if you're ever overheating a bit, that taste of just cold water is like better than any gourmet chef could ever make. So this is the ultimate cold refreshing drink, but it is forbidden, for it is liquid nitrogen and it would kill you. So don't drink it. Yeah, so they
Yeah.
use liquid nitrogen to freeze people in cryogenic labs. Oh, and I wanted to say, for the Walt Disney conspiracy theory, a lot of people say he's like frozen under like Disneyland or Disney World, or which I always get the two
Yeah.
confused. But I saw this video where they basically said the amount of like resources you need to maintain a cryogenics lab is like ridiculous, and you
I don't
would
know,
notice it underneath.
Disney owns a lot of
amusement
companies.
Yeah, they're
That's
pretty
all
big.
I'm saying.
No,
Disney
I mean,
owns a lot.
I don't mean monetarily. I mean, you would physically see like the pipes and the trucks. Like they would have to go down. Like
Well,
it's
you
not
could
something
easily
you can
disguise it
hide.
As they were like
It's
maintenance
really
workers.
not
No,
something
here
you
we
can
go, here
hide
we go.
easily. It's
Here we go. This is what it is.
It's
This
very
is the big
energy
theory.
intensive.
This is the unifying theory of Walt Disney. Here's what it is.
Okay.
Walt Disney is supposedly buried in what town was it? Yeah, he's
LA?
supposedly buried deep beneath the Pirates of the Caribbean
Mhm.
ride at Disneyland in Anaheim, California.
Yeah, you just can't.
Awaiting the day when medical technology would be advanced enough to reanimate the animator.
Yeah, that's
But
not
here
happening.
we go. No. Here we go. Here's the theory. So he's supposedly buried deep in Anaheim,
Mhm.
California. They actually did this, and they needed so much money for this project that Disney went, like the company went, and they bought all these other industries like Star Wars and like Marvel and
Mhm.
everything, right?
Mhm.
And what they did is they kept funding all pipes. There's pipes everywhere, all over California. Been there,
Mhm.
like specifically around Disneyland. Like, have you ever seen it? Like, even the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, that is a creepy ride. It is definitely not hard to imagine that there's some suspicious pipes running around there.
I would like
All
to
right.
tell
But
a
here's what
story.
happened. No, I'm not done. Here's what happened.
Uh-huh.
One guy didn't like that the most evil man in history, Walt Disney, was being prolonged down there. So what does he do? He goes down there and bursts all the pipes. And those
Uh-huh.
pipes create a massive explosion, taking out Walt Disney and the guy simultaneously. But unfortunately, there's a nearby forest in Anaheim, California, and that is how the California wildfires were started, with the death of Walt Disney. Thanks.
What?
Okay.
I'm
I
confused.
would like to tell a story about the Pirates of the Caribbean ride.
Okay.
The
Oh,
one
yeah.
time I've been to Disneyland,
Mhm.
I was with my mom and my brother,
Mhm.
and I was not a fan of Disneyland. I thought it was pointless, except for Epcot. Epcot was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
my favorite. It's my favorite.
Epcot, the Science
it's
Center.
the best one, dude.
It is the best one.
But the Pirate of the Caribbean one, that one sucked. So we got on that ride, and I knew I wasn't gonna like it because it was just another one like the Small World ride, and I did not
Uh-huh.
like that ride either.
Oh, that's a creepy ride.
I
Uh-huh.
hated that ride. It was so bad. But I knew it was gonna be like that. So you wanna know what I said to my mom? I don't
What?
want to do this ride. I'm leaving.
Mhm.
I was also like, I'm
Uh-huh.
Okay.
6th grade.
So you
And she
ran
got
off
mad at
and
me
saw
and
the
we left.
secret chamber.
We left
Walt
Disney
Disney is
World.
kept.
Yes, in the end, we left Disney World and haven't returned.
You were this close to discovering Walt Disney.
Yeah, I was
Wow.
also close to apparently having like a super weapon on my belt. Like
What?
I wrote that on my health paper.
What?
Remember I showed you it? We got it back
Oh,
in
yeah!
8th grade.
Oh yeah, I remember.
No, I don't know what that was about.
Okay, but anyways, we should get back.
Yeah.
Sorry about that tangent.
Oh yeah, it's
I don't
fine.
know what that was about.
Yeah, it's an interesting theory, but I forget. It's like the amount of like infrastructure you would need around like a cryogenics chamber, like makes it so that it's like highly impractical and like it would be very hard for them to hide that under the Pirates of Caribbean ride. But anyways, so yes, so cryogenics is basically it isn't really a cure to aging. It's more like you're about to lose a video game, so you just pause it and leave it on pause forever. That's kind of what cryogenics is. Because if you have a really bad disease that has no cure, and you're like, all right, I'm going to cryogenically freeze myself and wait for them to find a cure, what if they just don't?
And you're stuck
What if
in
they don't
forever,
find a cure?
Essentially.
Then you're just frozen forever. And also, cryogenics is not perfect. Even if we could reliably like freeze someone and unfreeze them and they would be perfectly fine, like without any brain damage or anything, which also is like unlikely with modern technology, but it might be possible in the future, is that you begin to have the effects of radioactive decay start to like destroy your body pretty much over thousands of years. So this is an interesting thing. Carbon 12 or carbon 14. So, well, there's 2, 3. Well, okay. I don't know what I'm saying here. There are multiple kinds of carbon, multiple isotopes, right? There's carbon 12, which is like standard carbon, 6 and 6 protons, neutrons, electrons, right? And then there's carbon 14, which has 2 more neutrons. And carbon 14 is radioactive. It has a half-life of about 5,000 years, which is fine for us because there's small quantities of carbon 14 in our body, like it's very minimal. So it's not really dangerous to us, right? But if you were to freeze yourself and halt all of your biological processes for thousands of years, then that radioactive decay would build up in your body because carbon 14 decays into nitrogen 14, right? So if you think about it, in your body currently, there are stray atoms of carbon 14 that are turning into nitrogen 14 and disrupting the molecules that they are a part of. But it's okay because this is a slow process and your body's able to handle it. But if 1,000 years pass and your body has not been handling these decayed carbon 14 atoms, then they'll all come at you at once as nitrogen 14, overwhelm your body and kill you. Because remember, just because you are frozen and have halted all biological processes, radioactive processes just keep going. Like, you really cannot stop.
Yeah, that's actually, that's
Yeah.
true.
So, cryogenics is really only something that you could do on like a time frame of like 1,000 years tops. But like, it's okay. Here's my thing, right? Here's what I think. If you're on like a really long like trip, right? Like you're on a really long like star trip and it'll take like thousands of years and you're like, oh no, I can't cryogenically freeze myself for that long because the carbon 14 will kill me, right? What you do is you freeze yourself for say 100 years, unfreeze for like a week, like flush all the nitrogen 14, like decay, like flush it all out of your system, and then freeze again for 100 years. And that's assuming that itself doesn't have like bad effects freezing and unfreezing. So if you're able to have really reliable cryogenics, then it's possible, but you just really have to consider that carbon 14 and other radioisotopes will decay over thousands of years. And while it's fine for us right now, it is not fine if you were to be frozen. So, yeah.
Yeah. That was really good.
Yeah.
I liked that.
I only learned that point like a few years ago, and it like struck me. I was like, wow. You could not just freeze yourself for millions of years and be fine, like logically. There's other like forms of decay, So that's really fascinating. You got to think of that when you think of cryogenics, So, let's see.
That's actually very interesting.
Yeah. Do you have any other comments on cryogenics?
Ice. All right, shall we move on?
It is nice like ice.
Ice, baby. Yeah.
Ice to meet
Nice.
Ice.
Vanilla ice.
Iced tea.
Ice puns. Water tea. Rick and Morty
New
reference.
Americans are attacking.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, yeah.
On to 3D printed
Yeah, 3D printed organs.
A quick turn.
Yes. These 3D printed organs, this is a concept where you basically take out a sample of stem cells from deep in your bone marrow, and then you allow it to duplicate in like a petri dish for a while, and then you take a 3D printer, you get rid of that plastic stuff, and just fill it with gross stem cell like goop, and then you make an organ out of it. Scientists have done this like in modern times, but it's not super reliable, but like it's beginning. Like this isn't far off. Like this is a thing we might see in 10 years.
This could be a valid method of organs transplant.
Yeah.
It would save a lot of lives if you could master the.
Yeah, exactly. Like you might want to
keep on the waiting list.
Yeah, exactly. There would be no more waiting lists.
2019 organ donor waiting list.
Mm-hmm. Also, because the thing is,
that's actually a good thing.
Yeah,
average waiting time.
Yeah, average waiting time.
To receive.
Also, I do want to add though that beyond just reducing wait time, your own organ is like with your own DNA is better than any donor organ could be. Because think about this. Your donor needs to match you in like 4 or 5 like crazy different ways that are like really rare and really unique to each person. And there's still
Yeah.
the possibility that your body's just like, nah, I don't like it, and rejects the organ, and then that is catastrophic. And that's a really big problem. Like, people that have organ transplants, they need to take like medication for the rest of their lives that keeps their immune system from just killing the new organ. Because
Yeah, so
even though they
yeah.
went through this huge process to try and find someone with matching traits, it still isn't good enough to get the body like not to attack without medication. So, if you had 3D printed organs made of your own stem cells and your own DNA, then your immune system will not attack it because there's nothing foreign. So, that is another reason why 3D printed organs are just better than organ transplants.
So yeah, right now the average waiting time between
Here,
years.
you're cutting out a bit. Could you repeat that?
Sorry, the average waiting time for an organ is 3 to 5 years
Wow.
currently.
I would also like to point out, because I believe we're looking at the same thing, some waiting times are even longer depending on geographical location
Wow.
in the country.
Yeah. Like, that is bad because
That's absurd. There's no way that someone's gonna be like let's say someone needs a heart transplant. They're gonna be dead by maybe.
Well, yeah, that's why they put them into like an emergency thing. But even those like don't tend to work just because of like the rush of it and everything.
Yeah.
And like the compatibility and everything. But yeah, with 3D printed organs, master that technology, we mass produce
that'll
like
save
a
quite a
couple
few people.
like hundreds of millions of organs,
Exactly.
so that we always have like the correct one.
That could
Yeah.
also possibly help with aging, because if we keep constantly if we put in new organs that are performing a job and won't decay,
Yeah.
then we won't be decaying.
Yeah, that's
that raises a philosophical question.
That's true,
kinda
but
like
that concept, that's for like the wear and tear theory. But I think I know what you're going to talk about, so I'll let you go. I'll let you continue.
So kind of like the ship of Theseus. If you don't know that philosophical thing, then
we talked about that
real quick.
a few episodes
It's
ago with
basically you have a ship,
teleporters.
and you're going across an ocean, and as you're going across it, each part of the ship keeps breaking, so you have to replace the part when it breaks, and eventually you've replaced every part of the boat. Is it still the same boat that you left on?
Yeah. Is it still the ship of Theseus?
Yeah, is it still that same? So this could be the same. If you have literally all your organs, I don't know how you would do your brain, but hypothetically, let's say you could.
Well,
yeah, I think the brain is probably the one organ you could not 3D print because of the fact that your neurons are impressed upon.
This can go into
each neuron's
Cyborgism,
unique,
which is a later topic, and mine uploading.
Because if you think about it, your kidney needs no memory. Your kidney's fine. But yeah, so I guess the answer to that philosophical question with just 3D printed organs alone is that you'll be fine once you'll still be the same person because your mind is what constitutes you, your consciousness, But it is true.
Yeah.
It's also, if you think about it, every 7 years your body replaces all of its cells. So it's you're just doing that. Except, people, it's weird. The way that things are presented to people has huge effects on how they see it. Psychologically, people don't think every 7 years my organs are replaced, but they do think, oh my gosh, I'm going to have my organs replaced. Oh no. Even though it's saving my life.
There's definitely huge fear factors involved. I think if we can try to eliminate the fear factor with some of this stuff, then it would come along a lot smoother.
Yeah.
In the world and society.
Let's
take kidneys, for example.
Yeah.
If someone gets kidney disease, kidneys, I'm pretty sure I heard this fact that you only need one kidney to actually live.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why kidney transplants work, because otherwise the donor would die, or the person.
But you
wouldn't
also
get
need compatibility, and those who are compatible may opt out
Yeah.
due to being scared of having surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can try to eliminate this fear factor, I think that would also help a lot more
Yeah.
people a lot faster and prevent further damage.
Yeah, it's definitely true. Like, I think once 3D printed organs become a thing, I think it'll become standard practice just to have, say, a kilogram or maybe less, I don't know, just a quantity of stem cells just constantly being tended to in, like, medical warehouses. So, like, that you always have some stem cells on tap. Think about it like this. They could build a big medical warehouse to service, say, like all the hospitals within a 500-mile area, right? And so
Yeah.
you would go to your yearly doctor's checkup, say, when you move to a new area, and they would say, hey, well, they would either move it from your previous area, they would either move your stem cell samples, or they'd be like, hey, let's just take a stem cell sample from like your bone marrow. It's kind of painful. Like if you've ever like bone marrow donations are a thing and they hurt. Like they have to stick a needle into your bone, but you'll be like, you know what, this'll be good. This'll save me if I'm ever in like a really bad situation. And then you just have your stem cells on tap in a warehouse. And then say you get kidney disease. You have enough stem cells already. You don't need to wait for replication. They can just get right to printing. They can just go and print 2 kidneys, 2 new kidneys. I mean, you only need 1, but 2 is better. Like
fresh kidneys.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have 2, you know? So they go print you up some organs, and you're like, wow, I'm glad. Like, that really came in handy. Also, as you age, they have found that if they've done an experiment on mice where if they give old mice like constant blood transfusions from young mice, then the old mice will live a lot longer. This is basically, if you've seen Back to the Future 2, Doc, he basically says when he goes to the future, he's like, I got this treatment of like blood transplants and stuff, and now I'm like 30 years younger. And they really did that, I think, because they didn't want to keep applying old makeup to Christopher Lloyd. So, because he's not old Doc in the movie. The old Doc is like fake. Like 1955 Doc is actually what he looked like when they filmed that movie, and 1985 Doc is they've put on a ton of makeup. And so since old Doc makes more of an appearance in the second movie, they're like, okay, we're not going to do this for that long. Because think about it, the first movie only has a few scenes with old Doc. It's mostly in the past. So I think it's just a production value thing. It's really interesting to deconstruct that. But yeah, so you might also, as you age, say, like with your yearly checkups again, say when you reach the age of 60, it might become routine that your doctor says, hey, like every few months we should just have a like transfusion where blood produced from your stem cells will be transfused into your body, and they'll be younger, because if you have like younger stem cells elsewhere, like stem cells are like unaged, you know, so it's like, it's interesting, you know.
Very interesting.
What's going on? What's all this snickering I hear? Should I check the Discord on my phone?
Leave the present mode.
Leave present mode. Oh no. Oh god.
The mechanic.
The mechanic.
But anyways, let's get back into it. Actually, let's head over to gene editing.
Yeah. Well, wait. Just any final comments though on 3D printed organs?
I'm looking forward to
the
them.
topic of 3D printing.
Like, I really like to.
It.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what companies hop on 3D printing organs, actually, because
Elon Musk, obviously.
Well,
Tesla.
He hops on everything. Elon Musk is just the science
companies
man.
Tend to hop on like any trends in like pretty much any field. Yeah. Like we talked about earlier with like Amazon and Sony, like going into
Amazon's going to start selling hearts on
the contact lenses and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised if there was like Amazon kidney or like Apple liver or any of that.
Uh-huh.
The Apple
Yeah.
liver connected to your iPhone.
Well, I assume it would be
If your
medical
Apple liver
companies.
needs an update, you just start having a seizure.
If you
Oh
don't
my
update
gosh.
your liver, dude, you just die.
Yeah, well, it's more
Literally,
likely
it's
that it would be
iOS
medical
13
companies
code.
than like our big tech companies that we think about, because there are medical companies. Like, think of the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, they're kind of
From
under
Walgreens.
fire right now from a lot of political candidates, but
Yeah, that's true.
they're likely the ones that would be producing this. But yeah, so that's interesting that you like to think of the companies that would get involved in this, because
Oh,
I
yeah,
really like to
definitely.
think of the
It would
societal.
always lead to the company.
Yeah, I like to think of like the
Always lead-
societal
someone has to
implications,
make
you
it.
know, like how will your day-to-day life be changed? And I think it would be really interesting that this is just a standard practice. Like, it would just become a standard practice in medicine to just have some stem cells on tap for every patient.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that would be a great idea to start looking into.
Yeah, like just think
If we
about
haven't
that.
already.
Think about it like in a warehouse, like within 500 miles of you, you'll just have some stem cells just being tended to. And then whenever the situation calls for it, like you get in a car crash or something like that, then they
Yeah.
can just print up some organs and you'll be fine. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is a really interesting concept.
All right.
Yeah. So I'll go to the
Yeah,
next slide.
it's already in motion, isn't it? Like people are already testing.
Yeah, they've
Okay.
already done some rudimentary. They've printed some tissue. They have, I think, have printed some organs, but like non-functional. I think, like, I don't think anyone has had
Prototypes.
a 3D printed organ implant yet.
Well, yeah. There's no way
because-
that anyone. It would have been all over.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think that's something I would have missed. You know.
Yeah, I feel like
yeah.
people would bring that into like an ethic reason as well.
Yeah, I know.
I
There's
don't know why. I just thought of it. People would be like, "Oh, you're putting these fake organs into your body. That's
Yeah.
bad. It's bad for
Yeah.
you."
It's
But
an
in
There
interesting-
would definitely be deniers of all this
It's an
stuff.
interesting
like,
ethical
people that
reality,
just
there's
refuse.
always deniers for everything.
Because
Yeah.
if you think about the issue with stem cell research right now and how they take stem cells from unborn fetuses, and how that has sparked outrage amongst like the Christian community, because those that like don't believe that abortions
Pro-life,
should be legal
isn't it?
are like
Yeah.
kind of get mad, like they don't like this research, but it's interesting
I
because
don't know,
their
yeah,
dissent.
I feel like that in order to progress, we need to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting though because that dissent has actually affected the research, and now scientists, instead of sourcing their stem cells from like unborn fetuses, now they usually use like adult stem cells because of all
Yeah.
this like dissent and like political controversy. But I think they found that the adult stem cells work much better for their purposes. So, you know, all's well that
It's a
ends
win-win.
well.
Yeah. So that leads
Yeah.
perfectly into our next
Oh,
gene
yes.
editing.
Gene editing.
So you've probably heard of CRISPR before, you guys at home.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably heard of like CRISPR. So what it is it's kind of a genetic targeting program that allows for people to, or like scientists to like target like specific genes
Mm-hmm.
and interact with the DNA and RNA on a level that we haven't been able to in the past.
Yeah.
So if we can use this at a very high level, get this to like function like perfectly, in all honesty, this could be as close to a cure to cancer as we'll probably get in the next century or so.
Yeah.
Because obviously it can take the corrupted DNA or the like infected DNA that cancer spreads around and
Mhm.
honestly just like delete it from the thing, like
Purify
Yeah.
the DNA.
purify the DNA and like cut out the mutated
Murder it.
Yeah,
the,
or
the
even
mutated
kitchen
strands.
knife.
or even much simpler, just add a gene that makes the cancer cells
Yeah, as
produce
well,
a
yeah.
protein that gives their location away so that your immune system can just go, you know? That would be a lot easier than like fixing the cells. So that's what you would likely see first. Eventually, we might develop ways to fix the cells, but since it would be easier to just make the cells mark themselves, that's likely what you would see first. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically CRISPR, it takes advantage of something that bacteria and your cells already do, which is basically a defense mechanism against viruses. They cut out strands of virus DNA and get rid of it because if you're basically what a virus does is it reprograms your cells to produce more of the virus, and it like has negative effects on an organism. So your cells have developed a mechanism to cut out the virus like reprogramming DNA and fix yourself. So
Yeah.
so that's
So
what
this
scientists
technology is
use.
obviously controversial,
Mhm.
sorry. Kind of for the same reasons that the printed organs are. Some people see it as like strange or like unethical or other things. This goes back to our stream where we talked about the Chinese doctor
Yes.
who tried to like cure those infants of like HIV.
Was that our
remember
first
that,
stream?
He kind of like succeeded in some ways
Yeah.
and
Failed.
had faults in other ways,
Yeah.
but overall he pretty much succeeded. But that put a ban on like genetic
Yeah. They put a
modification
moratorium.
technologies. So until that ban is lifted, we can't really improve on CRISPR or any other gene editing
Yeah.
technologies.
Well, they only put a moratorium on human editing. So
yeah.
they're
Well, yeah,
still
that's what I mean.
researching. They're fast away at research on mice.
Yeah,
like,
it's always the
mice.
mice.
oh my
It's
gosh,
always
it's
the
always the mice. I
Well,
kind of
it's so
feel
easy to
bad for
reproduce.
mice. They're gonna build
fun.
statues of mice one day, just being like,
The mice will take over once
Yeah.
we genetically purify.
Oh
them.
my
Actually,
gosh,
they
yeah.
did make a statue of a mouse, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
in
Ratatouille.
Russia. No. In Russia, there's a statue of a mouse
Uh-huh.
because of all the mice that have been dedicated to science.
Hold on. Nice.
Hold on, I want to look.
Statue.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
there's one.
monument to the laboratory mouse.
Put it in the slides, and I'll.
Yeah, sure. Here, it's actually a really nice statue. Honestly,
Yeah, it looks very.
it's awesome. Here, should I throw it on this slide?
Yeah, just put it right here.
Yeah, hit present and then present again.
Ooh, that is a nice statue.
Yeah, it's
Look at
called
that.
Monument to the Laboratory Mouse, and it's
Nice.
for all the mice that have been used in scientific trials. And as you can see, it's knitting DNA. That's what the mouse is doing there, and that's not too far from what CRISPR would be doing.
Yeah.
It'd be modifying your DNA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's
That was a
some
good,
like small consolation to the
Yeah.
abuse of this species, honestly. But,
Honestly,
but
pigs should get one too.
it's for science, so I
This
don't
year.
know.
Yeah.
Remember 7th grade? You pulled out the pig lungs with. Like,
Oh
like,
my gosh, I remember that.
smoke? That was so gross.
And we had to do the dissection of a heart, I think, of a sheep's heart.
I think.
7th grade was just like 20 dissection
heart-
labs. They just like
Honestly.
for
It was
some
not that
reason
bad.
like elementary school science was just kind of like, pretty much nothing.
Here's a
6th
paper,
grade
turn it
science was just like, all right, everyone, grab your hot plates and just boil some water. 7th grade
saw-
science is like 20
My 6th grade
dissections.
science
And
teacher-
then 8th grade science is again like, grab your hot plate. Like, oh my gosh. That was so gross though with
Yeah.
all the dissections.
the dissection wasn't that bad, in my opinion.
Yeah. But
was
then they
actually
also
kind of
had us
interesting.
go watch
Oh,
a heart
okay.
surgery. Remember that?
That wasn't that bad. I did not look away at all.
I like cringed the whole time.
I thought it was
like,
interesting how the lungs kind of like sunk back
mhm.
to
Yeah.
open the heart.
Anyways, so yeah, gene editing. It's just like 3D printing organs. These are like, I don't know, like decade technologies. Like these will come in a decade or so. Their current development, like I really like to see like current like technologies that are in their early stages of development and you think, yeah, this is going to come to fruition in 10, 20 years, which it's interesting. So, anything else to say about gene editing?
It goes along with the program theory. I think we mentioned
Oh
that
yeah,
earlier.
this is for programmed longevity. If you could program your genes to allow you to live longer, then you would live longer. Simple as that. Bam. Yeah, that's what I call a pro gamer move. Just program your genes to live longer. Anyway,
Let's
so
head over to the next
yeah.
one. So
This
this
is-
one
This
we
is
talked about
biological.
in our other slide, or sorry, in our other slide, in our other
stream.
live stream.
What was that, the first one, I think? Yeah.
I think it was, yeah. With biological immortality,
Mhm.
and the most classic example of this is the lobster.
Yeah.
And if you see in the bottom left, our friend, the mechanic, must have
Is
gotten
now a
fired
lobster.
from his biological mechanics.
He got
state,
turned
and he is
into
now
a
a
8-year-old.
lobster.
He got turned
Yes.
into an 8-year-old child in a lobster costume.
His life is a train wreck.
It's going
The
downhill
smile
real
shows
quick.
it all.
You can see the pain behind his.
Oh,
But with
poor
lobsters,
man.
they're biologically immortal.
yeah.
So what this means is that lobsters are pretty much immune to disease, and they don't necessarily age in the same way that humans. What eventually kills most of these is their shells keep getting like harder and harder, and eventually they use too much energy and cannot break out of their shells to like make a new one. That's called a molt. So they keep molting and molting until their shell is just too hard for them to molt out of, and they just end up like getting crushed because they grow too big.
Yeah.
But if they didn't have that problem, they would basically like grow to like immense sizes. Honestly,
it makes me think of the crab creatures at the end of time in H.G. Wells' Time Machine.
Yeah.
Have you read that book?
I have not.
Yeah, it's like a
these
classic.
actually
Oh, it's
remind me
actually,
of-
if you see this diagram, the diagram says it's from 1895, and that book was written in 1895. Yeah, what a coincidence. So yeah, he basically this is like a foundational science fiction text. Like, I think it's the first like really formalized use of time travel in the sense of having a time machine. So, but that's not the point. So, yeah, biological immortality. We talked about it before on a previous stream, so you should just go watch that.
So this would obviously be a cure to it.
Yeah, this is the cure to aging, right? But it isn't absolute immortality, as we'll get into in a little bit. So when we think of a cure to aging, accomplishing a cure to aging is reaching biological immortality. Because a lobster can still be like, killed and made into a lobster roll, right? Like, you might think lobsters don't seem that immortal to me, but but they are.
Well, that's an outside
if you
factor,
left
though.
them if you left them alone. So that does describe a weakness of biological immortality, is that like homicide can still occur, accident can still occur. So biological immortality and cures to aging, it's imperfect, but it's what we'll get like in the next 100 years, like the next century really is where we'll see development towards a cure to aging and biological immortality. These topics that we're going to discuss next are like further down the timeline. So yeah, I'm going to go to the next slide. Nanomachines. So okay.
Skirt.
Yes. Skirt. So I found this image on Google Images when I looked up nanomachines, and I don't know why. I think it's the blur effect combined with the bubbles that they just like obviously added on to this photo, but it just so perfectly describes that skirt energy if you think about it. So I love this picture.
The blur is just great.
Yeah, right? The blur effect. I mean, this is a molecule in motion. So as I said earlier on how specialized enzymes kind of blur the line between molecule and nanomachine, our smallest nanomachines are just like highly designed enzymes that would do things in the body, like they could tag cancer cells so that your immune system could kill them. They could tag viruses better, or viri better. So yeah. So nanomachines, but in the larger sense, so this is less nano in the sense of like more than just a single enzyme, and like robots, you could have like little tiny nanomachines that are about the size of a cell go in and replace certain cells and like micromanage your body. Because think about it like this. I like to think a common example is, what if you just replace your blood with nanomachines? That is a possibility because you could design a nanomachine that is really good at like carrying oxygen, much better than a human red blood cell, because evolution creates things that are good enough, but it is not good at creating highly specialized, highly efficient devices, if you think about it, right? So if you could design a nanomachine that is really good at carrying oxygen and you just replaced your blood with 100% that, then with a single breath, you could hold your breath for like hours, for example, because of all this oxygen that's just gone into your bloodstream.
Break all the world records.
Exactly. And you could go diving, say, without a oxygen tank.
Mask?
Yeah. And so nanomachines also, they would be immune to all blood diseases, like any infection you might have, like from a cut or something, that would not happen. Also, if you were to have a cut, the nanomachines could be programmed to just not leave your body if you get cut, so that you won't bleed to death.
Well, it's like seal it faster.
Yeah, they could they could act as an immune system, a much more effective immune system as robots, and they could destroy pathogens, So
they could.
So yeah, if you think about it, if you just have nanomachines for blood, then you are like at such an advantage over all the other humans, because and if you think about it, it's just like one organ, like it's just your blood, it's just like circulating around, it's just like a red liquid. But if you were to replace it with nanobots, then it would be interesting. And also, if the nanobots had like a gray coloration, then it would make you look like sick, which would be interesting. But that would be the new look, because you would actually be healthier than the average person, but your skin would look all gray because there's no longer any red blood running through it. It's just gray nanomachine blood. So
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'd also like to point out that Iron Man himself has nanobots.
He used nanotechnology for the latest Iron Man suit.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he sealed his wound with nano.
Yeah.
Incorrect. When he was stabbed by Thanos.
Oh, that's cool.
I also put a nice picture of Iron Man with swords.
Oh, let me just...
Awesome.
Nice.
So cool. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so...
And topical.
Nanomachines. They're pretty interesting. Because, yeah, also you could have... If you had, like, really dense nanobots in your blood, right? Then you could also have it be, like, a defense mechanism and just kind of, like, have them escape from your blood.
Mini Iron Mans.
And, like, whenever, like, you needed them. Because if they're so much more efficient at carrying oxygen, you don't necessarily, like, need all of them. So if you're in, like, an intense situation, you could just have, like, a nanobot cloud, like, come out and, like, attack your assailant,
Well, then it would be, like, a nanobot fight versus, like, a nanobot fight, basically. They'd just be fighting each other until one loses.
That's true.
That's how it would end up. It would be like a street fight.
Yeah. But if you think about it,
Cat fights well with nano fight.
You know the character Venom, right?
Yes.
And the recent movie, or not so recent, but I mean, I don't think Venom's had a movie until then.
The Marvel character.
Yeah, so you've got, what if your nanomachines were like a semi-conscious being and like a bit of an AI, and like you and your nanobots developed a symbiotic relationship, much like a symbiote, and it's interesting to think because the way that a nanobot like swarm would act would be like a goopy, like liquid type thing, much like how the symbiote is represented in Venom.
That's true. It's also seen in the movie Big Hero 6 in the final boss fight.
That is true.
That's true.
That movie.
Yeah. So except those are more macro scale nanobots, because those are like macroscopic, like you can see them, even though they're tiny. Yeah. But these are like even tinier.
Well, those are like mass clumps of them making up. Well, in this case, it would be like a mass clump.
Yeah. So it's interesting. Nanobots are a really
There's also a
interesting thing.
Transformer who's microscopic.
Mhm.
He was seen in the first movie.
Mhm.
I don't actually know his name because I don't care for him.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's interesting though with your nanobots because it would pretty much give you superpowers if you had nanobots because say you were like falling from a high place, they could just form the shape of like a parachute or the shape of like padding underneath
rocket,
you to
yeah.
slow your fall. And so like nanobots are really powerful. I honestly like that's like a really cool thing I would want to have. If they made nanobot blood, like I would want that.
I want to make a joke. You said that it basically give everyone superpowers. I would like to quote a man known as Syndrome. He said, if everyone's super, no one is super.
Yep.
Ooh, that's a good philosophical.
Also spoken by Dash.
It's a quote
Yes.
from Syndrome from The Incredibles.
Yeah, that is a good point. I do like that idea. Because I actually kind of like incorporate that. Not in this current book, but in ideas I have for future books. A lot of like superhero type people are just people with like really good technology. And the trend with all technology is that it gets cheaper over time and becomes more publicly available. So, like think about the introduction of a technology. Think it only takes a decade or two for it to become cheap. Like think of the telephone, right? In like the 90s, like really rich people had a few phones, right? But then now everyone has a phone. Or at least a lot of people have phones. So if you think about technology like the Iron Man suit, you might think 30 years down the MCU timeline, it might just be like everyone has just a power suit that they just go to work in. So, yeah, that's interesting. So,
If
I'm
everyone
gonna
is super, no one is super.
exactly.
All right.
Anything else?
On?
Yes,
Sure.
moving on. All right. Robotic organs. So this is
I like this a lot.
This is a fun one. This is like the counterpart to 3D printed organs and a little bit nanobots too. And
Cyborg.
Yeah, cyborgism, which is the next slide, I think.
Yeah.
So I like to make this interesting point when it comes to robotic organs. We already have robotic organs. If you look at the picture on the left and the right, a simple dialysis machine at a hospital, right? That is a robotic organ. Think about it. Your kidneys have failed, so you need to go and have this dialysis machine filter your blood, and it is a machine that is doing the job of your kidneys, an organ, and it is a machine, so it is a robotic organ. But the thing is, they aren't portable. Like, it's huge. It's like, it's probably the size of a person. If you look at that picture on the right, it's probably about the size of a person, right?
Yeah.
But if someone could invent like a pocket-sized dialysis machine, like a tiny dialysis machine, if you think about the size of a kidney, it's like maybe like 1 inch by 4 inches, something like that. Like your kidneys are tiny organs. So if you could create a dialysis machine that was approximately the size of your kidney and had the same or at least high enough output levels, then you would win like Nobel Prizes in medicine. You would be like world-renowned scientist because you would have essentially cured all kidney failure by creating a kidney-sized dialysis machine. Because if you can implant a kidney-sized dialysis machine into your body, then you're set. If you think about it, you really just have gotten a kidney transplant, except it's just a machine.
We are very close to actually, like, we're on our way to getting this done, considering we have pacemakers for hearts.
Yeah.
I believe we were discussing this yesterday about it.
Yeah.
Pacemaker regulates the heart's beats. And, that's small. The heart is, compared to the rest, is small, I guess. And I brought that up because it's important. And I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
with robotic organs, honestly, this is I kind of see it as an either or one is definitely the precursor to the other when concerning robotic organs and nanomachines, because nanomachines, the I see them as the superior technology to robotic organs
Yeah,
because they
definitely.
can be
Nanomachines
programmed
are.
to just solve any complication
Yeah.
that might arise in the body relating to organs or otherwise.
Hmm.
But robotic organs would definitely come first before
Yeah.
nanomachines.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
think about it.
I
If
probably
we
should have
since we're so
changed the order
close,
of these slides, but I was doing more based on like size because nanomachines are tiny things.
yeah,
But yeah, so robotic organs are definitely something that you might see. I don't think in the next few decades, but maybe in a century, maybe a handful of
yeah,
decades, half dozen.
if you think about it, these organs, these robotic organs, could allow us to live long. Like one person. Let's say one person. This guy. Let's name him Jim.
Uh-huh.
Jim here. He's one of the top leading scientists in the robotic
Right.
organs industry.
Hmm.
He has just and he has solved all the problems, and now there's a robotic organ for everything.
Hmm.
Next, he wants to move to nano machines.
Hmm.
These new robotic organs will keep this man alive long enough
Mhm.
to get at least a stable ground with these
Yeah.
nano machines
Yeah,
for
I
someone else
see.
to take over and continue on.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You think even the less
hold
effective
on.
but more like achievable in the modern day technologies would be very big because then you would be able to survive long enough to have the main technologies come about. Like it's an interesting thing. A big joke, like amongst the science community or like futuristic talking people, sci-fi community is like which technology would
Future
you
robot.
like to live long enough to see? Life extension technology. Ha 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 ha. Ain't that
So
hilarious?
Funny
Because
joke.
then you would be
concerning
around for all the others. Yeah.
yeah, so concerning nanomachines,
Uh-huh.
I was thinking, and for the life, the name of the book, but I just found it. There's a character in this book. It's called Wool, like Wool.
Mm-hmm.
It's by this guy Hugh Howey. I read the book like pretty much when it came out in like 2011 ish. So I didn't like really appreciate it, but then I went back and I read it again, and it was like a decent book.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, not as good as A Truly Dead Rock is gonna be, but it's up there. It's actually like a 9-part series kind of. But basically,
That's
this
like
one
more than
character in there had been alive for like 250, and he had like he was powered pretty much by nanomachines. Like nanomachines would just like fix like every single issue in his body, and and I think it did replace his blood, because in the book he was described as being like disturbingly gray.
Yeah, that's probably
everything.
exactly what the author was going for.
Yeah. So yeah, that just made me think of it. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember what the book was called.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's called the Silo.
Yeah.
SIL series. If you want to check it out.
Huh. That's
Very
interesting. Yeah, like eventually with nanomachines, you might like just completely replace your entire body with nanomachines, and you might just become a nanobot swarm, which is interesting because if you think about like mind uploading, which is a later topic, but if you can have your mind instead of on a biological system, if you have it on a technological system, then why can't you just put it into nanobots rather than in like an android or like just a plain computer with a simulation running? You could just put yourself into nanomachines, and there's actually a lot of benefits that you might see with that, because you could transport yourself faster, because like whenever you needed to like skirt, you could just melt into like a puddle and just yeet away. And like nanomachines are like, isn't the Terminator in one of the Terminator movies like made out of nanomachines? And like there's
that's
this
T2.
Yeah, and there's this fight scene where he gets like kicked in the back, right? And then he like turns his body around.
Yeah.
Without like actually turning around, just because the nanomachines like morph, and then he's facing forward again and like continues to fight. And I'm just like appreciating the visual effects on that one, you know?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. So
speaking of that kind of stuff, actually they're android. so they're not cyborgs. But let's go on to cyborgs anyway.
Yes.
So cyborgs obviously come with robotic organs and arguably nanomachines. Right here we have a picture of Victor Stone, aka Cyborg in DC. You might know him from Teen Titans.
Oh my gosh, that show. Wait, did you say Teen Titans or Teen Titans Go?
I said Teen Titans.
Okay,
I said
good.
Teen.
Because you cut off a bit, and I was like, "Oh, please don't talk about that show."
I said Teen Titans and nada más.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to introduce Cyborg as Cyborg from Teen Titans Go, just to anger literally everyone except for 8-year-olds. Oh my gosh.
So
yes,
anyways,
that show.
Victor Stone was in an accident, and his parents basically used this technology to replace a lot of his major bodily structures, including some of his organs. As you can see, he has like an eye out. I'm pretty sure his heart is artificial. But
no, his heart is still the same.
Is it? Okay, so he's got some not.
Okay,
I know in the Flash paradox.
Yeah. So this is kind of what a cyborg is. It's a morph. It's a combination of both human and robot. And we asked the question, like, how much of your body has to be artificial to be considered cyborg? But then we basically looked up the definition of a cyborg, and I'm going to give you the definition right here. It is a fictional or hypothetical person whose physical abilities are extended beyond normal human limitations by mechanical elements built into the body. So what that's saying is that if any kind of technology in your body that gives you an advantage over a human, like just the average human, you are technically a cyborg. So even if you just had like a USB stick in your pinky and you can plug that into a computer, you're technically a cyborg.
Yeah.
Because the average human cannot stick his finger into and receive data.
Yeah, so that's interesting, definitely. So basically with your robotic organs that we were talking about before, that wouldn't necessarily make you a cyborg. If you had a robotic kidney that just matched the function of a previous human kidney, then you would not be a cyborg. Even if you had like, your liver was replaced by a robot that matched to the liver's like functions, even if your heart was replaced. But if all the functions were just like the same, then you wouldn't really be a cyborg. But if you have like, I don't know, like mega liver like 3000, and it allows you to like process alcohol at like 3,000 times the rate of a normal human being, then that could arguably make you a cyborg, because you would have abilities extended beyond human capabilities. But you typically more think of like the organs replaced like your arms or your legs, because those are our organs that we use to like do stuff like pick up this water bottle or like walk. And by the way, I picked up a water bottle. Anyways, so yeah, so you don't really think of your robotic organs that would expand upon normal human function, like if they were to do that. You don't think of that as cyborgism as much as just like arm cannon or like rocket boosters in your legs. But that would be really like a real thing, like someone that just has like really good organs and can just like process a lot. Because think about it, say you had like a heart that could process like say your heart and lungs were replaced with like robotic parts, right? And so you could like have so much more oxygen uptake in your body, and you could like, even if all your other organs were like normal, like human organs, you would be able to be like a very good like athlete or runner or something, because your organs would be supplied, like your arms and legs would be supplied by so much more oxygen from just improved heart and lungs. So it's interesting to think of cyborgism. And of course, nanobots would make you a cyborg, because nanobots are kind of like inherently better than like body systems because they're just like really tiny and able to do a lot,
Yeah.
So,
Right.
yeah,
Should we head on to mind uploading?
sure thing.
So we've talked about this in our first stream, right?
Uh,
The future technologies.
yeah, first or second.
Yeah. So in our earliest, we talked about kind of the counterpart to biological immortality, which was technological immortality.
Mm-hmm. And that's the next slide, but yeah.
The next slide.
Yeah.
Yes. But this is kind of the key basis to what technological immortality is.
Definitely.
Uploading your consciousness into a computer so that you like stay around as long as the internet exists, basically. Yeah. This also like allows you to move at like basically like the speed of light. So if you wanted to like go from like one computer to the next computer, you could get there like pretty much
like at the speed of light, because you're just transporting the information like as light, exactly, instead of like having to physically go somewhere as a biological being. So yeah. Mind uploading, really interesting, because it would allow you to sort of like migrate. And what I mean is that you could have your own little virtual reality, like a little villa on like a nice open like place, right? You could have a nice virtual setup and like you live there most of the time. But then say every Saturday you could rent an android, right, that you would upload your mind into temporarily and like visit your relatives that are still say biologically immortal while you have gone to technological immortality. You could visit them as in your android form like every once in a while and be like, hey guys, what's up? Like you could visit them say once a week or something, and then once your visit's over, like just at your own discretion is what I mean, return to your virtual reality. So it offers more like freedom as a consciousness, because if you are not enjoying the state of affairs in like the real world, you can just kind of peace out. You can just head out. You can just go into your virtual reality again. Yeah.
Oh, I made a theory on that actually. I won't get into it now. I did talk about that subject. And a lot of people made fun of me for it. They say it was immoral. I disagree.
Wait. So what's the context of this? Was this a school project or like?
No, it was a project I made in about like minutes.
Sorry, you cut out a little bit.
It was a project I made in 30 minutes.
Oh, okay. What was it for though? Just
the
for your friends?
VR one.
Oh, okay. Well, I feel like
everyone said that it was stupid. It was not stupid. It was logical.
Wait, what's the?
Here, have you guys ever seen Ready
Player One? Yeah, I've seen Ready Player One.
It's whether you've read it or seen the movie, it's a decent movie actually. It's fun to imagine. Kind of mind uploading, you would always be in like VR. One could argue that the internet just becomes your actual reality because that's where you. So you kind of become like two-dimensional in exchange for fun, everlasting life.
Yeah, I mean, or you could have your own private server if you think about it.
Your private Minecraft server.
Private Minecraft server. No swearing on my Minecraft.
You could play Minecraft till the end.
Yes, you could have that. I actually have to say, it would likely become an extremely popular simulation of just building, and it would probably be more realistic than Minecraft because it's pretty blocky, but just like literally a simulation where just you can just build anything like infinitely high or long or deep, and
so like gravity is like not as in effect.
Yeah, you can just do whatever you want and go into creative mode and just fly around. So mind uploading, it offers a lot of possibilities of what you could do, because you could just like do your own thing. But it also does bring up some interesting ethical concerns. Now, if you can upload a mind onto a digital medium, right, then it's arguable that you could probably create a mind. Maybe not from scratch, but like you take a template, say like your own mind, and you could like modify it in ways. And, depending on what you did with that second altered copy of your mind, could spark moral debate, because you should not have rights to control its life, because it would be its own thing, right? It would be its own consciousness. But it would be like also weird that you have created this thing that's just like a near copy of yourself, but not a real copy. Or you could just make a real copy of yourself. But like something that people might do is, instead of, say, like looking for a partner, like for like a relationship, they might just kind of tailor their own, just like make their own.
That's true, yeah.
Which is very weird.
Should the government be allowed to mandate you?
And not productive for a society, not productive for a society if you're just creating artificial intelligences based on like copies of human minds that are like,
oh my God,
just so that you don't have to compromise or anything. If you create a mind that is perfectly tailored to you, I mean, it would be weird. It would be dicey. And a lot of people would choose to do that instead of just like, being a normal functioning person, because it would be like, I don't know, just easier. It's just weird.
Yeah. Should we go on to the next? Well, I mean, it pretty much relates to mind uploading.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot more we can say about this other than, well, this would obviously come with mind uploading. There's obviously the can you upload your consciousness? Like, if you take every detail, every memory, every like habit of yours from just the data in your brain, and
you gotta take
chuck it into a computer.
Well.
Yeah. Think of how much it would be in your subconscious.
Yeah, if you can do all of that, copy your entire brain, subconscious and all, is that still you on the computer? And obviously, you would need a lot of data. Like, I want to look up how much data the human brain is.
Yeah, well, it's actually,
if you think about it, if you make a copy of your brain and you upload it, how does that work? Would it be two separate, like, so you got the, your normal self, your human skin, your gross skin.
So guesses,
as well as the computer.
Yeah.
So guesses say that, or like estimate that the human brain storage capacity is anywhere from like around 10 terabytes to 2.5 petabytes. Which is.
Oh wait, what was that other figure? Terabytes and what? Zettabytes or something?
Petabytes.
Petabytes, okay.
P-E-T-A byte.
Because that's interesting, though, because 10 terabytes, I think I could get that for like $440.
Yeah.
Like, a terabyte drive costs like $40. So, that low estimate is like,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
but yeah,
1 gigabyte is 1 e to the negative 6
to the. Oh, okay.
I feel like this.
So that's like a million.
Mind uploading could be kind of weird.
Well, so it's interesting though, with mind uploading and technological immortality, if you upload your mind to a computer, like, you're still there. Like,
exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Real body is still there. So now there's two copies of you, which is a problem because, say you want to go and live on a computer, right? And so you upload your mind. And what are they going to do? Is the person, like, after they upload your mind, just going to be like, all right, give me a moment. I got to go get my axe. Just like, just like, uh-oh, that's not good. But I think I've come up with a sort of solution to it, and this is my idea. So it relates to nanobots. Say that you had a nanobot whose job was study one neuron, figure out exactly what it does functionally, figure out exactly what its job is, destroy the neuron and replace it perfectly, and then create another nanobot to go on and do the same thing. say that you just injected a few nanobots like that into someone's brain, right? And let them slowly like fizzle through the mind, converting all of the neurons into nanobots. Then you wouldn't have a copy like to worry about, because your mind would be like the biological version would be destroyed over the course. Like the biological version would be destroyed over the course of this event, right? But it would be like a continuous stream of consciousness, you know? Like you would never feel like anything was being killed. So it's like Ship of Theseus again. So it's weird.
Yeah.
So because it's just so weird.
It's a complex topic as well.
Yeah. But
Like,
I would hope to have nanobot
of
version instead of copy upload version, and then they get the axe. You know?
Yeah.
So I guess it's a
Should we move on?
Yeah,
to
sure.
The final thoughts?
Ooh,
okay.
final thoughts.
Final thoughts. So these are obviously the technologies that we want to come first, because after we master these, then we can move on to like everything else.
Yep.
Because once we conquer like death itself, then we can worry.
Stop us.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Because then we can start working on like other things. Like war won't necessarily like be as prevalent as much if we have like
a few wars with like
nanomachines that can just repair bullet wounds and everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I said, the technology I want to see in my lifetime is life extension technology.
Yeah, obviously.
So, yeah, that's the joke.
We're good. We're good. We're set for life.
But yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, it's really interesting, definitely, with the way that these technologies could come about, and just how it's true. Once you do this, then you're kind of set. Because, like, yeah, you can pretty much do whatever you want after that. So, yeah, we hope these come around soon, you know?
Definitely.
So, what do you want to do for our next episode? For our next episode, we are going to have a guest who we mentioned earlier that was in my homeroom in 7th grade.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to get on.
Okay, and did my was he saying yes? I think he was hinting at yes.
He said he was going to check, but I think he was pretty sure. So with good faith, he'll be there. If not, worst case scenario, it's just me and Max.
Or we have a second guest. We have a second guest possibility.
Oh, also, that is also true.
The other person who is more likely going to be on later, but we could just ask them to push it forward. But yeah. So I think we should talk about something like space habitation, like kind of stuff like that.
Something like that.
Because as we talked about, this is like the technology you do first and then you do everything else. And as I talked about how since this friend is the person that we did the Utopian Society project with, we should talk about...
If we get him up, if he's able to do it, I think that revisiting our Utopia projects might not be a bad video idea.
Yeah.
Because then we could give our raw project of what we did in 7th grade, and then improve upon it. Like talk about how we would improve upon it.
Yeah. So we can talk about...
I can't wait to be the first comment.
Oh, yes. You'll be the first comment in the chat.
Graviton.
First comment.
Nice. So that'll be great for next week. We'll talk with our guest about that. So I would like to thank Michael. I would like to thank you for coming on our channel. Make sure to check out his Twitch channel, Jam Has Bing. He has streams there every few days at 7. So just keep an eye out at 7 p.m. Obviously not Saturdays though. Sorry.
On. Follow me. I need to beat Chip Major.
Oh, Chip Major. Yeah,
he somehow got more than me. I'm very disappointed.
Oh, okay. We've got to close the sub gap.
Either, so.
Well, so thank you for coming on, and I would like to thank my co-host Sebastian for being on as always.
Of course, always.
So yeah, thank you guys for coming. Do you have anything else to say, or?
I liked this talk.
I really do want these life extension technologies to come
Mhm.
out so we can do the show till the end of time.
Till the end of time. Oh
Till
my
the
There
god.
is no end of time
time
if we
itself.
live long enough to figure
Every
it out.
Saturday
True.
at 7 p.m. Once Saturday
Always.
becomes an unknown concept, once the week
Oh, yeah.
forms, like, once we change week systems eventually, and it's like a 6-day week or an 8-day week, and like everything is in flux every 7 days on what would have been a Saturday, will be the GraviMax live stream until the end of time.
Yep.
As long as computers and YouTube and live streams exist, the GraviMax live
Yes.
stream will live on. So yeah,
All right. Yeah.
that's it. Thank you guys for coming, and I'm going
Thanks
to
for
end this
watching
stream.
this.
See you
video.
all next week.